welcome. Uh, Let me get people in the backstage real quick. What's up, yo? What up, Zod? What up, Rashad?
Yo, Archie, we got Zod in the building.
What's up?
This ought to be good.
I brought my
Yeah,
skate
yeah.
or my Halloween shirt.
Sweet.
Yeah. So to kind of get everybody up to speed on like what this is. This is not season three of Hard Ever Dies. That's coming out in the summer, still August around that time. But I figured I'd do these like special presentations where we kind of talk about big horror movies. I feel like Sinners is a great way to start. And if people really fuck with it, I'll keep doing them, do it more frequently, and we'll just see how it goes. You know what I'm saying? So we're just gonna fuck it and just wing it. You know what I'm saying? So how y'all doing?
Well, I'm doing good. This is the first movie I've seen in a while that hasn't sucked, so that's
Hey,
good.
How many movies did you watch this year?
Ugh, so far, pretty much everything that's come out, even some stuff you probably haven't heard of. I saw this one recently with called Borderline or something. It was fucking terrible. I thought it was gonna be good because they had Samara Weaving in it and
Mm.
Jack Nicholson's kid. It was terrible. They were good. The movie was bad though. Um,
Mm.
I mean,
My
so I've
experience,
been.
my experience been completely different from everybody. But Rashad, how many movies you at right now? Like, I've been keeping
as
track of.
far as far as 2025 releases, I think I'm at 32, I believe, right now.
That's not bad. That's not
That's
bad.
yeah, yeah, and like I'm sorry, me and you, like we're here, bro, because like the last few
Oh,
months
it's
fucking stunk. But I think the droughts over, man. This is the second week in a row because last week I went and saw Warfare,
Oh,
and that blew
what a
me
Warfare
great
is
away.
movie!
cool.
That was a great fucking movie, man. And then now this week, so yeah, there's hope for 2025 after all, man. 'Cause I was getting nervous. I was because going to the movies was starting to feel like a chore, an obligation instead of a pleasant experience. So
Yeah, I've broken up with shows. The last couple of shows I watched between Invincible, uh, Daredevil, Born Again,
mhm.
uh, they, so the shows have kept me kind of going when TV has failed me. Because man, there was some great television. Like my top 10 list for my TV shows is going to be hard to do. Reacher was good. But yeah, movies have been quite easy, except for horror. Horror is never easy to rate this year because when everything sucks, it's like a rule of thumb. Horror is bringing the A game, and this year looks like no exception.
Yeah, my year's been alright. Like, I've seen 51 so far, and I've been enjoying most of the stuff. Like, I got a lot of 4 stars, like on my letterbox, some 3 stars, 3.5 stars. Like, it's pretty balanced for the most part. Like, I definitely got some one like half a stars and shit like that. That Scream Mode shit. That was
I heard that was trash from quite a few people. I heard that was
yeah, yeah.
wasted.
But some people like that shit. But you know what I'm saying. But it didn't hit for me. But we're here to talk about Sinners. Um, this is Ryan Coogler's um brand new movie. It happens to be a horror movie, vampire flick at the same time. And I've been pretty consistent as far as how I felt about this movie going in. I wasn't as hyped as everybody, because for many reasons I don't really fuck with vampire shit like that. As far as like a subgenre, like it's not my favorite. I prefer like if we're talking about if we just go in the realms of like universal monsters, like it's definitely werewolves and shit like that, or like Frankenstein before like vampire stuff. Like I don't know how Rashad feels like. How do you stand with vampire stuff like as a whole? Is it like
Listen, I love a good vampire joint. Like my favorite vampire movie, plus one of my favorite horror movies ever is The Lost Boys. I mean, you've heard me say that so many times on your
mm,
channel. Like I love The Lost Boys. I love Fright Night. Um, I still have to watch Vamp. I have to face my fear. That's one of the videos I'm gonna do this year. Facing my fear. I'm gonna finally watch Vamp because I avoided that one because I was scared of Grace Jones. Don't judge me. And yeah, but no, I love a good vampire. Bram Stoker's Dracula, so I love good vampire movies, man. And this one here was definitely a banger, and not just a vampire movie, but just a movie. Period, man. Like this movie just did it all.
Mm. How about you, Zod?
Now, if you guys remember a little horror movie with it's a South that ruined vampires for everybody forever. Twilight fucked me over. I've been a vampire fan for years, and then my exes. Rashawn knows the story. We've all been there. My ex likes sparkly vampires. I saw every one of those movies. I was happy with the end of the movie because all the fans were pissed off. But I felt like that really put a bad stigma on vampire films, and they went on a decline for a couple of years now. And even though we've had little breakouts here and there, but I think between this year and maybe 2023, like these last 3 years, they've really slowly made a resurgence. Nosferatu was great. I wasn't as hyped on the Voyage of the Last Dimitri as much as everybody else, but I thought it was good. Um, and now finally we have this, and I got my own thoughts about the movie as a whole because I don't think it's as well constructed as it could have been. That's not to say I don't like the movie, people. I give it a miss.
We definitely gonna get into that for sure. We definitely gonna
But
get into that for
yeah,
sure.
but I I I do have to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't this his first horror movie, Ryan Coogler? Because I don't
Yeah,
remember.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
This is a damn good job, and I think
And
he's
his first like original movie too. So it's like,
Since Fruitvale Station.
yeah,
yeah, I think this is like we could have somebody, hopefully, he's an artist, but Ryan, if you ever listen to the stream with us, you should go into horror, man, because that shit,
that's why I
man,
said that's why I
that
said
he's
like, yo,
got a future.
I said that in my review. I was like, yo, it would have been dope if he would have made a slasher, because it's like, how many black directors make slashers, and I'm like, yo, he could have done something really
Well,
cool with
there's only
that.
one black director I know that like really tackles a horror genre. That's Ernest Dickerson. If you know who that is,
Mm,
yeah,
okay, yeah.
yeah, the guy that he directed Juice, and then he went on to do Bones, and he
Oh
did Demon
yeah.
Knight.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he does like a lot of TV too. So yeah, Ernest Dickerson is really probably like the only black director I know of that really delves into the horror genre.
Yeah, but we've never seen one just make a slasher though, like a true blue like slasher film, just with a horror
Uh,
icon.
Bones was kind of a slasher movie, kind of, right? With
Is
Snoop,
a vampire?
no, well,
kind of.
no,
It
he
kind of
wasn't a
told
vampire.
his line a little bit.
I always thought that he was a demon in
Yeah,
Bones. I didn't think he was a vampire. I thought he was more like a devil kind of character.
but I was saying like as far
Mm.
like slasher, you know what I'm saying, where like it follows the slasher formula. Um,
I think that would be interesting because for once, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, if you know me and Perp's history, Perp, I'm going to agree with you. That would be interesting to see. We've seen so much, and look, I know the talk where people get all whatever about woke, which I'm so sick of with reviews these days, but uh, it is something to be said that we have had films with black people in them, and it's been almost every genre except You Have a Point. I've never seen a slasher like that. I think that would be unique, and whoever does it, it would it would be quite interesting because it would be something that hasn't been done before.
facts.
Right, and that
Especially
was
if you have a
that.
black director, black actors, just I'd be down to see something like that just to see how they pull it off.
Yeah, and that was my only kind of thing. Still with this movie, it's just like, man, I wish he kind of didn't do vampires, but because I understand the symbolism and what they represent in the movie. But let's just kind of get right into it. So this is going to be a spoiler discussion. Everybody's seen it. I've seen it twice. I've seen it once in IMAX and the other in Dolby. I think I prefer the Dolby slightly more. Just simple fact that like the picture quality and the sound was just really dope.
Yeah, I agree. I think IMAX is a little overrated. Like,
No, I still like IMAX. I think it's still clean. Like a lot of people like know how to utilize it, and you know, it definitely utilizes it. But I really like Dolby. I
yeah, I
think
mean, no,
Dolby
I
is
mean,
really underrated.
it's just straight, but Dolby is just like you said, the picture is more crisp and the sound is like the seats fucking vibrate, man. Like, especially like with this movie with so all the music that was in it, at times I
Hmm.
felt like I was in a concert, like the juke joint scenes. Like I felt like I was in a damn concert, man. That's how the speakers were bumping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, shit was sitting.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna sound high end for a second, but I actually had a screener in advance for it, and then to
Uh,
your point, I liked it so much. I went to the cinema and I endorsed it. I went down to my local cinema. I saw it in whatever the hell Marcus has, an IMAX Dolby for the. You could hear the music as if you're inside of the place.
mhm.
Like I felt like, to your point, Rashad, I felt like I was in the gin joint just being berated by music. But I gotta say, I think that if nothing, folks, from all of our movie theater talk, this is definitely a movie I stress you have to see in the theater to get the
Facts.
full
R-
experience.
Rashad, how would you pitch this movie to somebody that's just like never heard nothing? Like, how would you, you know?
Well, the first thing I would say is don't watch the trailer, okay? Because I've watched. I mean, I've watched quite a few reviews,
Very
man.
true.
All of them said the same thing. They said that the full trailer spoiled a lot, and that's why this year, like for the past 5 months now, I've been watching nothing. But I just watched the teaser. I don't watch the full trailer of anything anymore. So,
Right.
Fantastic Four, Sinners, I didn't. Companion, I didn't see any of the trailers. So when you watch it, it just you get a way better experience when you don't know anything. And I just
Yeah.
recommend everybody. So that's the first thing I'll say. Don't watch the trailer. And so how I would pitch the movie, I would say, look, this is a period piece, Jim Crow South. Um, think of From Dusk Till Dawn meets The Color Purple meets Demon Knight with
And a
Michael
little
B.
bit of
Jordan.
Lovecraft. I
Yeah,
would
oh, and
compare more
Lovecraft
to
Country. Yeah, Lovecraft Country
like
also.
this
Right.
is almost like it could take place in the same universe because it almost has very similar concepts. They dive into more of like different types of creatures or different types of things that are like supernatural in there, but like the themes are pretty much the same, like in a
But
lot
you
of
didn't you
You
ways.
didn't you
know
didn't you didn't
why
get
they
From Dusk
ever
Till Dawn?
canceled Lovecraft Country? Because I am still pissed about that.
Yeah, but what you said? What you say, Rashad?
Oh no, I was saying like so yeah, y'all didn't get like because I mean that's the first thing I thought of From Dusk Till Dawn and
Oh no,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
got those
definitely,
vibes.
yeah,
definitely from like them just being trapped there. Even
right.
though I would say there was that go kind of leans more to my negatives. We're gonna get into that.
Oh yeah, that's
As far as like there was more tension in From Dusk Till Dawn than you know.
I
I
wouldn't
think
yeah,
it.
I wouldn't say more attention, but I think From Dusk Till Dawn had more of a shock factor because once again,
Mm,
if you didn't watch the trailer From Dusk Till Dawn, if you know anything about it and you watched it, you would think it's just a straight up gangster movie. Like this is like
mm.
vintage Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez action gangster joint, and then when the vampires come out, you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
with this one, it kind of did the same thing, but I don't know. I feel like the tension here was just more amped up, just because I was on edge like the whole time. Like even before the horror stuff started happening, there was just a real sense of tension that Ryan Coogler created, where like at any moment I feel like something crazy was going to happen.
yeah. So to kind of just kind of get right into things, I wanted to start with the negatives before we get into the positives. I want to see where this movie kind of lies for y'all. What kind of things didn't work for you that could have improved on, or you would want to see in a sequel. We're gonna get into like the sequel stuff as well towards the end of this stream. But Zod, what were some of your negatives or
I had two huge negatives that brought my score down 2 points because I was in 9 or 10 territory. And I hate when I do at 8 because everybody thinks that I think the movie sucks. Like anything that is above a 5 for me, it has high rewatchability. I'll probably watch it again. that's neither here or there, but it was some comments I saw. And my two biggest gripes, which I've heard echoed from several people, so I don't know why I got shit for it, but one was some of the musical numbers for me when they were riffed in between the realms and they were showing all the different dances. Some of them felt kind of out of place. I would say when they tried to blend the modern era in, that didn't work very well for me. When they were going like the old school kind of stuff, I was like, okay, cool. And then when they threw in some of the modern stuff in there, I got what he was doing and what he was saying about music and the evolution and the different people who have these gifts for opening the veil or whatever the fuck it was. But I felt like it just wasn't blended that great. And for as much I agree with Rashad, tension that he built, I felt like the fight with the vampires was kind of bullshit because they all retreated for no apparent reason. They could have easily overwhelmed them. And I felt like it was kind of an excuse to get them to, take out the final guy or whatever. I just thought, like, for how it built up the action when we got it, it didn't really live up to the hype. Like, take From Dusk Till Dawn, that action felt visceral. It felt good, even when you got the vampires and shit is going down. But in here, I didn't really feel that like kind of final fight. Guys,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think I know what
feel
you're talking about.
that big payoff. And it's
Mhm.
not to say that the action when it happened wasn't good, but you guys know what I mean. The third act kind of didn't have that oomph. It didn't have the big explosions and stuff. And maybe I just spoiled, but like you, Rasad, I was kind of getting the From Dusk Till Dawn. So I was like, okay, there's gonna be a big scene, and it kind of goes a little bit quiet. There's not really until you get to when they're flashing through and he gets the racist people and stuff like that. That was cool,
Mhm.
but it felt like a missed opportunity with the whole vampire subplot. And that was another big thing. For as much as he dipped his toes into the horror, I didn't feel like he really embraced it as much as he should have. Like I
Mm.
didn't feel like he focused the horror as much as I wanted. There were a lot of cutaways from gory scenes. Don't get me wrong, they rip out throats and stuff, but they did do a lot of quick cuts and a lot of like quick edits where you don't see the final kill. And as horror fans, right? Like the
Yep.
gore is what it's about. And I was kind of angry when they cut some of it. Like I was like, I wanted to see that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's every big thing, but I did notice a lot of quick cuts and them cutting stuff or taking a weird angle or something. So it felt like there was a lot of missed opportunities. And,
Mm.
the ending still works. Everything still works for me. I think the message is still great. It's just that third act didn't have the kick that, like,
Yeah,
I'm
it didn't have
satisfied.
that carnage candy that you would expect from a movie like that.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I definitely share some similar thoughts, but I'll wait to before getting into that. But Rashad, what were some of your negatives or things that didn't really work for you, or however you felt about it, or you know?
I have very few negatives because I like walking out, man. I just enjoyed it from beginning to end, and I did
Mm.
say that scene was gonna be very divisive. The juke joint scene where they were showing the different
Yeah.
periods of at the evolution of music and everything. I went to see with my daughter and I told her, I said, watch, I said this is gonna be divisive. I said people either gonna love it or they're gonna hate it, and so I heard a lot of people did not like it. Personally, I didn't mind it because, like Zod, like I understood what he was trying to say, and I felt like he got his point across, very artistically. But I can understand why people would say that because, especially in a period piece, like I break my own rule when I say that because when I watch a period piece movie, I want to feel like I'm in the period through the whole thing. And when you use modern music or modern anything, it takes me out of it. Where now the illusion's gone, the veil has been
And
lifted. You know what I
one
mean?
second, I don't mean to interrupt you because you're
Yeah.
making an excellent point, and I kind of want
Mhm.
to piggyback off that for a second.
Okay.
You and me, I assume, we're a bit older, right? We come from the old school. I love
Right.
jazz. I love the
Right.
blues. It's like the foundation of what music is. So I was digging every song in this.
Hmm.
Like I buy the soundtrack and listen to it. It's an amazing soundtrack. But it's like if you understand what I mean, like you could mix modern stuff. you could do a modern jazz piece and maybe just spruce it up with a little bit of the
Right.
2025s. There's so many talented artists, and I felt like for how important that scene is, the new stuff didn't click in at all. It was like a break in the rhythm and the beat, and then it's like just takes you out of the flow because when
Mhm.
they're open in that space, we're supposed to be flowing from one music genre to the other, right? But then you
Right.
get to the modern stuff, and it's just like I don't know if they picked the wrong bands or the sound guy didn't mix it right, but it just took me right out. And
I'll just say I completely disagree with you, especially after watching the second time. I'm like, so I was with you at the first, like when I first watched, it's like, wow, that's a very like creative swing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Hmm.
there's a lot of directors that do that stuff that would be considered like weird or just it would do something to take you out of the movie, but what I like about it is it and how the whole movie just plays off of music in general, even just with just how characters are interacting with certain things, and it's going along with the with the track in the background or something like that. You know, it's really dope how they play around with it. I would say out of all the movies I've seen thus far this year, I would say what has the best sound design is Sinners and Warfare. Like they have really good sound
I
design,
agree.
especially when I like saw in Dolby. Like you really you really see how much like time was put into just those little details and stuff like that. That
That's, well,
that was really dope.
and I want to say this too. So, like I said, even though I broke my rule of where if you put modern stuff in a period piece, it takes me out. But this time it didn't take me out, and also like I guess the way my brain works, when I saw that scene, I was thinking, okay, this is probably foreshadowing what could be a series. You know what I'm saying? Where I feel like if they want to do sequels to this movie, they could tackle each genre or ever like so. For example, the second movie could be about '90s hip hop, how it started out as a musical form that started in the streets, and then it became mainstream and diluted and tainted. You know what I'm saying? Where
Mm.
it lost its soul. And also, when you watch the end of the movie, I felt like that too. They waited when they saw your boy at the end when he was older, and he was like, "Yeah, the shit now just ain't got no soul to it." You know, like you're the last of what music, like how that shit actually makes me feel something. So you know what I'm saying. So I took that as okay. This is foreshadowing to
Yeah,
what could potentially be a series of sequels. You know,
yeah,
and also
definitely for sure.
and I'm all for it.
For sure. And so my two complaints really is I feel like are the most common that if you ever see any like negative reviews or just nitpicks that people have is one, I think the runtime definitely is a little I definitely think the movie has a bit of a pacing problem.
Mm.
And that's something that could definitely be fixed in like a sequel. If you were to get Sinners 2 down to just straight up like a 2 hour film, I think that would be really dope. I think he could definitely do that. You could have definitely cut like 10 to 15 minutes out of
I
this movie.
disagree.
I didn't feel the
I
runtime at
wanted it
all.
to be longer. I know it sounds crazy, but I felt like some of the characters that
Mm,
I really got into weren't fleshed out enough. Honestly, I would have been fine with 3 hours, to be quite honest with you, because I felt
Yeah.
like that was my other issue was some of the characters, their depths didn't hit me because I didn't get a chance to really know them. Like the girlfriend,
mm.
she was kind of in it for a second, but did Amanda Seyfried's character really didn't have that much of an impact. Like I felt like Perp, I do agree there was pacing issues, but I felt like it wasn't. It needed to
Slight,
be
it's
shorter.
very slight, like slight things. I would like it, certain things, like for instance, like when Mary first shows up at the juke joint, right? She should have already been that's another thing like with the pacing and just how they handled the vampire like element to this whole thing didn't really work for me as well because what would have been really dope, and I think they could have definitely shaved off some time, is got rid of that dumbass scene of her going out there and talking to the vampires and stuff like that. I thought it was really stupid. Instead, they could have, when we first see her come to the juke joint, she's already changed. You know what I'm saying? So like, but she's like, "Oh, Cormac, let me in," and she's already in. So we don't know if she's, you know what I'm saying, a vampire or not. You know, so but she's just playing it off because when Remick pulled up the first time, he's like, "Oh, why is she here?" That would have kind of gave the audience be like, "Oh, is she like a vampire already?" Or and then you could kind of have like a little backstory thing, whatever, a flashback scene of her walking and running into these people, and you know, and I think that speaking about missed opportunities too, like those cutaways, like we could have seen a really cool death scene of Haley Steinfeld. You know what I'm saying? She could have definitely got some Scream Queen type of like a type of scene right there, but for some odd reason they cut it like that. But
I mean,
what were you gonna
yeah,
say, Rashad?
that probably was the MPAA. You know how they can be douchebags sometimes. Like, oh, if you put that in there, we gotta give it a X rating or a non-rating or whatever. So, I mean, there's probably a cut of the movie where the deaths are more gruesome, but because of the MPAA, you know, they gotta be dickheads sometimes, and they probably made them cut some shit out.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that because with the way they talk about, pardon my French, eating pussy in this movie, I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Like, bruh, they had this movie was mad. Them's
Vulgar.
one thing, yeah, I will give them credit for. Them sexies did not hold back. It's been a long time since I've seen an R-rated movie that had the balls to like mix it up because you always see the quick like 3 second we're gonna do it session, but they got really like they got in it in this movie. So I don't think it's the MPAA. I feel like it's just a creative choice. And this is just my own personal feeling. I felt like he was he was dabbling in horror to see how people were going to receive it. You know, he's got the new I'm new into horror jitters. You see it in the
Yeah.
new directors where he wanted to focus more on the overall message he was trying to say, which he did a great job. He's a great director, but he was a little nervous to get too into the mystical, too into the supernatural. He just wanted to see how people were gonna react to this kind of different flavor,
He's a
as
rookie.
opposed to
Yeah, he's a rookie.
yeah,
He's a hard
diving
rookie.
head first.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, and well, another negative I would say too is the head vampire guy was not very. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't very memorable. Like I say, like a Jerry
Underwhelming.
Yeah, like you know,
Underwhelming.
like when you think of like the best vampires in cinema history, you think of, you know, of course, Nosferatu. You think of Jerry Dandridge, Fright Night.
Yeah,
You think of Dave and
like
Lost
the
Boys. You know,
like the shot with when Preacher Boy smashed him with the guitar and like you see him in his like kind of full form and shit. Like that
yeah,
shit was really fucking dope. I was like, we should have got more of that, you know,
No,
yeah,
or
sooner.
this is what I was talking about. What I could have did with 3 hours, they could have built him out and made him menacing. I was down for him as a villain when you see him go into that house and you don't know what happened to the kid. I'm gonna assume he killed the kid, but just how creepy he was talking. I don't think the
Hmm.
actor was necessarily the problem. I think they should have focused more on those scenes. No, because like you said, Rasad, when you're building a villain, you've
mm,
got to give the audience a few more things to really hate the guy. And I
Hmm.
don't
right,
think he did enough to be a real big presence. You know, they introduce
You
him in the
you
beginning, but you don't get a sense he's this looming threat, like you said, like Nosferatu or something else. You don't
yeah. I mean,
feel like
but you know
he was
what
doing
they could have.
river dance, man. Come on, he was doing like I mean, I ain't gonna be scared of nobody doing the fucking river dance. Are you kidding me?
hey, that's what my peoples
But
have
what
a
they could have
beautiful
done.
dance.
But what they could have done to kind of kept Remick alive, kept him around because he is a good. I think he is a good villain. It's just how they like kind of wrote him. It kind of fell short, and I think it happens that I feel like that has something to do with like the third act kind of falling apart a little bit because they do a good job of building up these characters at the beginning. Like I said, like I don't mind the slow burn, and I think a lot of people are going to have issues with that slow burn and feel like nothing happened, but a lot did happen. And
I didn't think it was a slow burn.
I always compare it to like watching a western. Like that's what it kind of felt like
Yeah,
watching. It was
yeah, it
like a
was.
western.
I didn't think it was a
And
slow burn though, man. Like because I thought the characters were so compelling, and I liked every single one of them, man. From Delroy Lindo to the twins to You
Yeah.
know, the witch doctor lady. Like, I loved all the characters, so I didn't feel the runtime. I didn't think it was a slow burn because, like, if you took the vampire stuff out of it, I would have still said this was a dope ass movie just because I just like the whole thing about, open up the juke joint and everything and the whole kind
Yeah.
of gangster element of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it just seems like once they get to the juke joint, like some like people get lesser screen time, and it doesn't really like when Annie died. I didn't really feel nothing because like you told me already ahead of time, like it's gonna happen at some point, and it was just a little too telegraphed. It could have been a little bit more dramatic, and like I said, that's the where one of the things he kind of falls short with this movie is just making like the vampires like threatening. You know what I'm saying? Like in a way, like I don't know how to explain it, but it's something
Uh,
about it that like I didn't feel, and I feel like that goes back to just not showing a lot of those on-screen kills that show how vicious they are or just how truly dangerous they are. If that makes any sense. But hold on, but before we get into like, what up, Terrence? I don't want to just completely ignore Terrence. Terrence is in the building.
Hey, how you doing? Yep. How you humans doing?
So,
What are some of your negatives for Sinners if you have any?
Oh, I have one negative. I wish the movie were 2 hours longer, just because I enjoyed it so much. My only negative I have.
oh my god!
Did
I
you
could
what
care.
format did you see it? Did you see it normally or did you see IMAX?
IMAX. We went 10 deep to go see this in IMAX. I was supposed to see it on that Thursday, but a couple of my friends, they had some work stuff and we had already purchased our tickets and I was like, you lucky you humans are friends, because right there, not alone, you delaying this movie, I should go over there and rip out the throats, but I'm not gonna do the vampire thing tonight. But I swear, if one of you try to pull out again, come Saturday night, it's over. So luckily that didn't happen, and we all came through. And Saturday night we had a packed theater, and that was a hell of an experience.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So you got no negatives, no, some characters could have been, certain things that you would do differently.
Nope, nope, really no negatives for me.
Interesting.
It's rare that I don't have any negatives, but in this case, it was just more of to me, everything about the movie was so great that naturally I could have used more of anything. But I think that's very telling for the quality of the movie, that you more or less hunger, so to speak, for more. But nah, no negatives for me.
well, if I
That's
if I could
interesting.
if I could nitpick one little thing, per one
Good,
nitpick,
good.
because I've seen a lot of vampire movies. The one thing that kind of bothered me just a little bit, and mind you, I think this is an A+ movie, but the one thing that bothered me was, and even though it was a good scene where the Asian lady, where your boy was threatening
Oh my
his,
gosh, she's
his daughter,
stupid.
right? So
Dude,
wait,
that was
That is
so
dumb.
fucking
That
bad.
was dumber. That was dumber than Mary going out and talking to but
okay,
dumb people.
so not only did that piss me off, right? But the thing that bothered me was, okay, in vampire lore, of course, a vampire cannot come in unless you invite them, right? But you have to be the head of the household. That has to be your house. That was not her joint. So the only one that could be able to invite the vampire in was one of the twins. And so when she says come in, and it was like, oh, thank you. I said, nah, you fucked with the law already, man. Like, you followed everything from the garlic to sunlight to
Yeah,
everything. I
I would
said,
say that that's definitely in my 50-50, like, because it's like even watching the second time, it's like some of the rules aren't really that clear on how, like, because some of them be in the room, or if like you could trap them in a room, what I'm saying, already being in the crib, because it's like I always thought like once they're in the crib, it's just like they got full access, like they,
yeah,
what I'm saying,
You know,
but
you know,
that's
you
why.
know what's interesting though? Like Ryan Coogler in one of his interviews before the movie came out, like he was talking about his fascination for vampire lore, and that there are no
Yeah,
real rules except for what you make. Because if you look at vampire movies over the last 50 years,
yeah,
there's
no,
all
no,
kinds of vampire lore to where it doesn't have to be something specific.
yeah, no doubt, no doubt, but it still has to make sense. Like, okay, but like that's what I said. Like, I'm 50-50 on it because like he could be explaining this over movies because like we still don't know like what Remick is. Like we obviously know that he has the red eyes. So what is that significant? Like, is he just one of the main leaders out of how many other vampires out there got red eyes? We're probably gonna get Barry Keoghan in this, and he's like, oh, he's gonna avenge his brother or something like that, or you know what I'm
No,
saying?
that'll be explained in the sequel, but like I said, that was just a nitpick, though. I mean, but yeah,
Mm.
all those movies kind of break the rules a little bit because, like, now I'm thinking about Lost Boys, where Michael invited Max, and that's how Max was able to come in. But then, if you remember at the end where they killed the little guy, they came back and like bust in the house and try to kill everybody. And I'm like, okay, well, I thought you can't come in unless you're
No,
invited.
That
I
yeah,
just couldn't
that
that
is funny that you mention that because that is one of the first things that I mentioned to one of my friends when we left the theater. I was just like, "Oh no, we're not gonna play that game because then I can literally just take apart every vampire film ever made."
Yeah, there's rules broken in every single one of them. So yeah. So you know what? In that case, I will give it a pass. But I couldn't help but think about that. Like that bitch should not been able to invite them in, and she fucked everything up. But I get it. She was trying to protect her daughter. But I'm like, damn, like you just killed us, bitch. You just killed us. You know.
Yeah, it was just like all they had to do was wait a few more hours. They would have all been toasted and stuff.
Right.
Like,
Right.
Hell no. I have several friends in the group that I went with. They would have got us killed. There's a bunch of individuals like that exist right now.
Uh,
That's why to me that was some real shit. I remember looking over at two of my friends like, yeah, y'all motherfuckers right there. That'd have been you. We would have died straight up.
you 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 know who like what they should have done to kind of because it is funny. It is typical horror shit here where it's just like characters are smart when they need to be smart and they're dumb when they gotta be dumb. It's very plot convenient, but like when they're sitting there at the door, right, to test who's who and be like, yo, like you should have smoke, literally shoot a motherfucker, like just see how he react and shit. Because
yeah.
they're right there, so they can't really do nothing.
Well, let me
But
ask y'all: Did any of y'all think that because it happened so quick? Because my daughter was like, no, he didn't get bit. I thought Smoke got bit when he was trying to pay your boy, and he snatched his arm real quick, and I thought he
nah,
got
he
bit.
No,
they
I
slowed it
saw him
down.
moving. Yeah, no, I saw him move his arm. I was like, he didn't get bit.
Really? Okay, because it
He
happened
almost
so
did.
fast. I was like, I saw he bit him, and my daughter's like, no, Dad, he didn't
If
bite
he
him.
if he didn't have that, if he didn't shoot him, yeah, he would have definitely got bit.
Right?
Yeah, it was it
Um,
was real, it was real fast, but like the way that was shot, I kind of anchor that to like what you would have with certain martial arts films. It's like, what did he hit him with? I'm like, he hit him with a knee in the kidney.
Right?
that and I have that falls into another like negative I have. It's more so like a nitpick, but like after Stack gets turned, like they don't really do much with his character anymore. Like it's mostly all goes back to Remick and stuff. That's what I say. Like I feel like the third act is it's a little messy, but give him the
I
benefit of the
100%
doubt
agree.
for sure. Give him the benefit of the doubt because I still was entertained by it. Like I said, like seeing Remick's like whole full form with his nails getting
Yeah, that was crazy.
longer and with the half of his face like missing. That shit was dope. And him just burning alive reminded me of Midnight Mass. Now, Midnight Mass, that's the type of vampire shit I fuck with. Like, I fuck with
Oh
Midnight.
Midnight
yeah,
Man, Midnight
Midnight
Mass was
Midnight
fire.
Mass.
That was fire.
Look, Mike Flanagan is one of the most underrated horror people working, and it's criminal that people don't recognize how brilliant of a director he is because he's made so many good, like, instant classics. And Midnight Mass is like gold standard for me for the vampire genre because it's done
Yeah,
so well. And
Mhm.
the fact of, see, my issue with this movie was the who done it factor too. Like you said, like it relies a lot on you didn't see the camera angle very well or things like that. And for me, like I said, I think this is Ryan Coogler's first horror movie. I think if
Mhm.
he did another one, it would be even better than this one here, which is already excellent because I think there was certain just little mistakes that were made um, that could have been tightened up. And I agree with you, Perp. I think for me, the third act, like I said, there's just not a big crescendo. There's not a big oomph to it. There's a lot of simple little nitpicks I have with it that just didn't work for me, which kind of like sucks because this movie is so good. And it's like we get
I know I came into this thing late and stuff, and but my thing is, while I understand everything that's being said by all of you, I absolutely do not agree. But I understand it though.
And that's
no,
what
no,
that's what's
that's
dope
fair.
about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you're gonna see a lot of people give it 10 out of 10 masterpieces.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
just don't, because at first when I was watching, I was like, yo, this shit is definitely overhyped. But it stuck on my mind a little bit more. And then when I watched it the second time, I appreciated it more. Still have my issues with the movie, but I really I want to see where this goes. Like I said, like I think Sinners 2 could definitely be like
I
Yes,
that
think this
look,
could
one.
be a
You
one
know,
and done.
I already have
Yeah,
my
but
pitch. I already have my pitch for the next two Sinners movies, man. I'm telling you, man. Part 2, 90s hip hop. Part 3,
mm.
in today's times, how hip hop has just gone to shit. Black music just as a whole is just doesn't have the soul that it used to have, and that it could be on some X trilogy type shit, but a lot better. You know what I'm
Yeah, we
saying?
can get new characters
I mean,
all
Yeah,
time.
but
yeah.
it's like what I've been telling humans for the last 10 years. Like, just because something has issues doesn't mean that it necessarily subtracts from its greatness, because 99% of movies have issues, so to speak. To me, if something is going to fall from the grace of 10, it has to be a large portion of the movie is just awful, and then it drops.
I'm
Mm.
sorry, I'm gonna have to respectfully disagree with that because if you have something that's so great, okay, I'll give you an example. It's like with Daredevil Born Again. I thought, especially the last episode, was fucking epic, but the middle episodes had issues. Now, I'm not gonna give a whole series a 10 because the last episode and the first episode I found amazing and the rest were shit. Just like with a movie, the ending of the movie is just as important as the beginning of the
You
movie.
cannot, you
The
cannot
beginning
use
sets the pace and the ending is how you leave the theater. Now
You
look,
cannot use a comic book thing because that is infinitely more complex. Number one, like if you're gonna go into Daredevil, which I can quickly do, you're talking about a story that was based on the Daredevil Born Again storyline, which we already got in season 3. But the show as a whole, for those who actually read those comics, is really good. The only thing is that it needed more Daredevil and more fighting, but it was still good. You're talking
no,
about
that's what I'm saying.
you're
It
talking
is
about some
good,
preferences.
but when you're rating something, it has to hold up beginning to end. Now, I gave the movie an 8 out of 10. I think that is still high. It's still going to be on my top 10 movies of this year
Mm.
in horror, which is very crowded every year. I still think it deserves a place in my top 10 because I watch it several times. But what I'm saying is, it it still is reasonable to not give a movie a perfect score on little nitpicks. And I would argue the fact that we have to nitpick to find something in the movie speaks to how good the movie actually is. But no movie is flawless, you're right, but you still have to call it
Yeah,
out.
I get it.
And if it has a
Yeah,
flaw,
yeah.
it's not a perfect movie.
I
Well,
But my,
yeah, like,
my point is that if somebody tells me, oh, I gave it an 8, I'm like, 8 is not that far from 10. Like, so to me, that shit doesn't matter. Especially if
it's
the
a
person's still telling me
Fair
that the
enough.
movie is good.
I've landed at a solid 8.5 for the movie.
Yeah,
so
I
Yeah,
feel
see,
see,
like
I'll,
it's
I
good.
I'll
agree
say,
with Perf
okay, well,
100%.
I'll say this, like the way I judge movies is, because I go a lot off of feeling, you know what I'm saying, how a movie makes me feel. So I don't know if y'all will agree with this. So yeah, no movies without sin, as Cinema Sins would say, no movies without sin. Even The Godfather has his fuck ups, you know what I'm saying. But if you really capture me as the audience, if you really get me and immerse me into the film, into the characters, into the story, then I'm willing to overlook all that. So even though I will nitpick and say, well, I really didn't like this, I really didn't like that, to me, it still gets a 10 just because I walked out and that shit made me feel something that I haven't felt going to the movies all year. You know what I'm saying? Despite its flaws.
and see,
I,
but and see that, and that's good though, right? But at the same time, I try not to, and by try I mean I don't do the feelings thing, because even if I redirect it back
I mean, what are
to
you, a fucking
what
Terminator?
Zod was saying. Hmm?
So what
No,
are
I'm
you, a
just
fucking
saying, like,
Terminator?
even
Give
if I
up
read
that one. We don't know what
if
he is.
I redirect it back to what Zod was saying about Born Again, or even comic book stuff as a whole, if I go off of how I feel, a lot of this shit will get an F if I go off of feelings. So I'm not gonna do that because that's not really fair for proper critiquing, because I can feel bad about something or feel good, quote unquote, but it may not necessarily deserve to be in a certain position when I step outside of myself and I'm fully objective about all the elements that we're presenting. And I look at it from all the different angles because I'm very analytical. So I always have to step outside of myself.
Well, I'm
Well,
I'm a
I'm
I'm a I'm a
saying if
touchy
we're
I'm a
gonna
touchy
be,
feely I'm a touchy feely critic though, man. I go by feeling, man. You know what I'm saying?
no,
If the shit don't tickle my balls, man, I'm just like, okay, there could be a really good movie.
Paul.
I ain't saying pause no more. If it sounds sus, it just sounds sus. If a movie can be really good, I can say, okay, like for example, Oppenheimer, right?
oh
Oppenheimer is
Mhm.
god,
considered a masterpiece, right? And I will say, technically and everything, it did everything right. But that movie didn't make me feel shit. So fuck that movie, man. It's a great film, but I don't care for it. It didn't make me feel anything.
no,
You know
I'm
what I'm saying?
saying like here. First of all, it's great to be with all of you gentlemen. I actually enjoy smart movie talk for a fucking change, other than oh, it had black people, so we don't
And
want
we're,
to
and,
watch
and
it.
we're gonna get into
You
we're gonna
know,
get into the positives after.
but
But no,
I
but
wanted.
you guys are right though. Like I get what you're saying, and then even like Rashad about how it makes you feel. If I made something and there was a human that came at me with the super analytical side, like on some Terrence shit, I'd be like, oh, thank you. But I'd be like, that's nice. Did you feel anything? Like I would much rather hear what Rashad was saying in the sense of like, damn man, this shit made me feel good and this and that. And I'm like, oh damn, okay, I if it hits you, it feels good. That's nice. So even if I ask that person, well, what do you think about what I did with the cinematography? Or how'd you feel about this character placement? If they go, man, I don't care about that shit. The movie made me feel good, man. I was screaming and jumping and doing this. To me, that's a better reaction than the super
Compliment.
analytical motherfucker with the clipboard like me.
With that being said, let's get into the positives. I'll start where I say the music and the sound design is really fucking on point. The message, um, just the depiction of Black American culture throughout it. It just what really like draws me to the movie. I'm like this movie is really dope, and I feel like that's why it's connecting with so many people. Um, because we don't normally get that type of these type of stories being made like every year. So they usually come around at once in a blue moon and stuff. So I really like that, and just the incorporation of like blues and you know just everything within that time period, really capturing different things. And I also like Michael B. Jordan playing two characters because that's another thing I was kind of worried about, and that ended up being one of the best parts about the movie and stuff. Like, I definitely think Smoke and Stack are definitely going to be horror icons over time for sure. You know what I'm saying? So,
Excellent.
uh, another positive, cinematography is really clean. I
You
definitely
son of a
see.
bitch.
I definitely see it. Like, if what you say?
I said, "You son of a bitch." I was gonna say that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure you like everybody is gonna have the same like kind of sentiment. But the costume design phenomenal. Just all the characters looking really dope. Just sharp. Just like being transported into that universe or just that time period. I should say was really dope. Another one is I like Ramek. Like I said, even though it's a negative and a positive for me, I like Ramek as the main villain. Like he uses a lot of his white tears to kind of get what he wants, and he's very manipulative, and just how he's kind of used in this. I just wish they kind of done more with it, but I think it's still effective, and maybe moving forward there'll be more dangerous versions of him. Hopefully, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like some of my positives and stuff like that. But, Rashad? What are some of your positives?
Ooh, so many, man. Yeah, just pretty much everything you said, man. The script, the story, how they took their time introducing us to all these characters, and I know Zod, I know you said a lot of the characters weren't fleshed out for you, but I don't know, I disagree because by the time we got to the vampire stuff, I cared about everybody. You know what I'm saying? And I was even crushing on the girl that what's his name? Why I want to call him Little Jimmy? What's the dude with the guitar, man? What's his name?
Sammy.
Sammy, yeah, the chick that he was crushing on, the married chick, the one that he went down on. I had a crush on her the whole movie. So yeah, I liked all
Oh,
the characters.
Paulina.
Paulina, yeah, what up, fine
Yeah.
ass? Well, that was a sexy broad, boy. But yeah, man. The vampire action I thought was tight. The music, and I don't know about y'all, but I was like, damn, this is a cautionary tale about the corruption of the music industry. I think that was like another theme in this movie was how you could take a pure art form,
Ownership. Yeah, just ownership.
How you take a pure art form and then get manipulated into selling your soul and just taking the soul out of it. You know what I'm saying? Hence the mid credit scene. So I love the theme of this and just how he shot the KKK at the end. I was in that motherfucker like a blaxploitation movie. I was like, yeah, get him. I was clapping and shit.
Yeah, that was a fantastic scene. Fantastic scene. It's like
because the thing about it, man, I'm tired of movies about black trauma. You know what I'm saying? If I can be honest, I don't need another 12 Years a Slave. I don't need another movie showing the Jim Crow South and how we got fucked up. We have so many movies that cover that. We don't need another one. So I like how they didn't really go there with that, but instead kind of subtly say like, okay, this is what it was in the South, without really getting heavy-handed with it, and we come out on top.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's pretty it was pretty self-contained because it was like we only saw like Smoke and Stack. They were on the opposite ends of the town, and just like kind of recruiting, or just not recruiting, just giving out invites and stuff.
Yeah, and so speaking of that, okay, and I want to end with this. The main thing that I liked about it, Ryan Coogler directed it, like he put his ankle in this shit, okay? And Michael B. Jordan deserves, I don't care what other performance comes out this year, Michael B. Jordan deserves an Oscar nomination. I just say give him the fucking championship, give him the win. Because he killed it as the twins, and you really believe that they were two different characters. And just the way that they had it, because if you watch movies from back in the day, you could tell the green screen where you have two of the same people next to each other. Like here, it was so seamless, especially when you see him pass a cigarette to each other. Like that shit look crazy, son. You know what I mean? So yeah, my Michael B. Jordan. I think this is probably his best performance, yo. If I keep it up, I think it's his best performance. So yeah, you can tell I love the shit out of this movie.
Terrence, how about you? Positives?
A lot. So first off, I just want to say, if I hear somebody doing this shit like somebody take me in your eye, I'm like, nope, it's time to leave because they're gonna summon all the demons and no, hell no. So that's one of those things that now I just look at singing and hitting high notes differently because of Ryan Coogler. It's all his fault. So now somebody might think that's a negative, but no, that shit really hit me in my soul. Like I felt like something bad was gonna happen during that sequence, which leans into the positive of the blues, just the black culture in general. I'm like, man, so many movies I've seen where they just fumble the hell out of that, and you can tell that they know nothing about black people. You like, what?
Tyler Perry.
Facts, yeah, he trash. Like, don't let me meet you, Tyler. That's all I'm gonna say. Oh no, what did he say? Yeah, no, Tyler's trash. All right, so moving on from that trash, going back to the positives. So I definitely liked Smoke and Stack. Michael B. Jordan definitely deserves an Oscar. I don't care what nobody says. Like the fact that he was able to play like two different characters, right? Same actor, but you're like, wait a minute. So he does have a brother in real life. That's what I believe. He has a twin brother in real life, So the last time I felt like that, I was a kid when I saw Double Impact with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I literally thought it was two of them. So I just haven't felt like that in so long. But I feel like Michael B. Jordan, because he's a better actor than Van Damme, he made it even more realistic than that. Shout out to my Smoke and Stack. I like them both, but for me, I lean a little bit towards more Smoke. He's more of my personality. Like, he just want to beat the crap out of you,
You
shoot you in
but
the face.
I think your mic's botting out real quick. Might want to drop out and drop in, come back in.
All right, hang on a second.
While he does that, Zod, what are your positives? We'll come back to Terrence.
Well, I'm gonna go on camera to say this. I've been smoking a little bit, like my man Smoker Stack. And I gotta say, for me, and I can't believe I'm saying this shit, and everybody's gonna want to clip this because Zod never says this, but the fucking messaging in this, like, if you guys know my channel, you've known I've been a Jordan Peele whore for years now, and he was the first director that put these things in a way where even my ass could be like, man, we got a problem. And watching Ryan Coogler, I gotta say, I never thought I'd say this about the movie, but for me, the strongest thing was that I got the message and it was so clever. Like, this movie is clever. The way he puts these things with the racism and things, but he interjects the music into it, I found to be brilliant and non-evasive. It's not like beating me over the head, but it's like this little thing. And like, let's be real, let's be honest, this is a period piece too. There was fucking racism, okay? Let's not pretend it didn't happen. I mean, the shit was real. The shit still persists to this day, but there's not very many directors that can shoot it in a way that doesn't make you feel like shit watching the movie. You know, it just
Exploitive.
yeah, it there's those movies that are made where everybody who's not black watching the film, you know, you feel like you're being attacked rather than being educated on something you might not know. Because surprise, surprise, not every white person is fucking racist. And sometimes you grow up in an area where you don't see how the other side lives. Now, I lived in New York. I was very poor. I got to see both angles, but I was accepted by neither. And so when I watch these movies, I get very irritated because it's like outcasting someone like me where I'm like, motherfucker, I lived in the city. I seen how people were treated. I seen how minorities were treated.
Zod, what did I just run into? Like, I caught this at a weird timing where you said something about like white
No,
people not being racist. I was like, wait, what's happening? Like,
no.
He's talking about how he would become a vampire. Pretty
No,
much.
no.
oh,
I was talking about how I appreciated the message because even someone like me, like, I've seen racism and I've seen it firsthand. I've seen friends of mine being arrested because of the color of their skin. I've gone through that, and like, I'm not in their position, but I get like how it feels. And some movies, even though I have an interest in seeing them, they would want to seclude me from them. But this was the first movie where Ryan Coogler was not preaching to everyone, but he was sending out this message about how great the culture is. And it's not just focusing on the bad shit, but like, look at the music. Look at like the way people treat each other. That fucking feel of family and everything. And to your point, I actually had a higher score because to Rashad, when he said the feelings, when I walked out, I felt positive with the end of the movie, and I loved how it wrapped up and how he just wanted one more song. He wanted to hear real music, and I got that fucking thing because I don't like a lot of the new music out, and I felt everything, and it didn't preclude me because of the color of my skin. This movie felt inviting to everybody. It felt like this is the culture. Like, come on in. This is what we're about. This is what we're trying to preserve. And I think we need more fucking filmmakers like that. Like, where you don't feel excluded because of your race, but you feel welcome and invited and to get to know the other side, you know? To get to see how the other side lives and to be like, hey, this is the struggles we go through, but this is also the shit we brought, right? Because you guys
Mm.
brought the music, you brought the good fucking great food. Like,
Yeah,
this is
we brought a lot of shit over. You know,
yeah, you guys brought some good shit over here, and
a lot.
and and to Rashad's point, so many movies you see. Oh, we treated them like slaves. We oppressed everybody, but this movie made me feel like, oh, this is what happens. Yeah, the vampire was Irish. I'm Irish and Puerto Rican. Okay,
Oh
we're a little
shit!
bit.
Yeah, I knew you got
Yes, I knew
Irish.
you could be the vampire. He'd be the vampire.
What?
See that
I
that's
know
why
you
So
got
that's
I
Irish
why I
love
too.
that
brought
little
my
dance
steak.
he did.
No. See, that's why I brought my steak tonight. Like it's just Zod was just looking a certain kind of way. I was like, nope, we ain't gonna play this game. Nope.
Ooh, that's
But
a
It's
dangerous.
gonna
That's a
turn
dangerous
red.
combination.
But yeah, the message was the big thing for me. I never thought I'd go into a movie where I said the message was the best thing. The message and the ending, like the very ending. Like, folks, if you don't watch the mid-credit scene, you're robbing yourself at the end of the movie, because the mid-credit and post-credit scenes are the most important parts of this movie. And while I found nitpicks, the ending still stuck the landing for me. It was greatly wrapped up. And honestly, I'd be glad if this was a one and done and he did another thing, but
Yeah,
stay in horror. It was great. I
yeah,
loved it.
sure.
Yeah,
Terrence, you,
where was I getting cut off at? You said my mic was messing up when I was on a certain segment.
I forget,
Like I
but
think I might have been talking about Smoke and Stack, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, because you're just going through your positives and stuff. But yeah, continue.
Right. Okay, so Smoke and Stack, I really believed that Michael B. Jordan, had a twin brother. That's something that's very difficult to pull off. Even when you have talented actors, they can't necessarily do that and be convincing at it. So it was very seamless, and I do believe that he should get an Oscar for that, straight up. And I know that the horror films, they don't get the respect they deserve. There's a lot of them that are trash, but I feel like when the ones that are great, and they're not just great horror films, but just great movies, a lot of times it gets
Hmm.
glossed over. But I
Yeah,
think that this is the one time where they need to pay attention, because this is some real shit. So
you're
for me,
starting to see that, like like with the substance
Terrifier
and so,
3.
yeah,
Special
no
effects.
Nosferatu. So to your point, to but to your point, like that Sinner might be that next movie, that they have to acknowledge, like it's getting too much recognition and stuff like that, to where you can't really ignore it. But yeah, continue.
but yeah, so um, I lean more towards Smoke, just because he was just like in your face, and like, what you gonna do?
Straightforward.
I'm gonna beat the
He's a
crap. I'm
gangster.
gonna beat the crap out of
He's a
you.
gangster.
So
Yeah.
he has a lot of my characteristics. Because I remember at first, when I was younger, I was more like Stack. But as I got older, and humans were fucking with me and everything, I turned more into Smoke.
It,
Because that's how you got to be to get stuff done. Even like when it comes to doing business, like I like how there was a lot of emphasis on, like, okay, despite the time period, you have black people that are smart, they're business savvy, they're looking after
yeah,
each other, and they let you know, like, hey, you step up and do the wrong thing, we gonna take your ass out. We not like, the rest of these black people over here, we'll wreck your shit. I like that, because a lot of times in Hollywood, they like to show us, getting all slaved
Mhm.
up and stuff. I'm like, what happened to all the tough black people, all the smart ones, all the ones that created the inventions that the white people stole from us? Like, where's all the music elements? Like, they don't like to show that kind of stuff. So I
right.
think that one of the positive things is that I specifically stated that this movie is more than just vampires. Because sure, like, yeah, you can do stuff with the teeth and the nails and the transformation. I'm like, I didn't seen all that shit already. I'm like, give me some stuff with some characters and dialogue that I can
Hmm.
remember beyond just the horrific elements. Which brings me to what's the name? Ramek, the main villain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I like him because he had a subtleness to him. Even like with that scene where we see him go in the house with that family, there was
hmm,
something that looked crazy about that from the IMAX screen, like where he just ran on screen and you see him smoking. I was like, nope, time to leave. Nope, already done. Like, it's
Bro,
just
that scene scared the shit out of me, because being a father, I was like, "Oh, where the kids
Hey, and also, the one thing that they did that I've never seen in a vampire movie was that whole thing with the drool. Like when they had
Yeah,
yeah.
thick ass drool that looked like
Yeah, that shit
fucking.
got freaky.
I don't
Oh,
want to say what it
no.
looks like, but I've never seen that in a
Haley
vampire
Stein,
movie. Yeah, so
That's
so when that girl,
would you let Haley Steinfeld spit in your mouth like that?
Hey, hold,
Repeatedly.
I'm gonna get to
Repeatedly.
her in a moment, but I want to address what Zod said because
twice was nothing.
Rashad and Zod, you guys are fathers and stuff. I don't have any children, but I do have tiny humans around me that I don't want to get hurt. So naturally, you want to protect them in what you would have in say like a father like fashion. So I just kind of picture myself in scenarios with tiny humans like, man, that's messed up. They're vulnerable. They can be tricked, right? So I was just kind of waiting to see what that would turn into. And I was like, you know what? Even if I don't see what happens, I was already running so many things through my mind that it did what it was intended to do. And that's what made it terrifying is that you don't necessarily have to always see some stuff, just kind of what you imagine. And the cinematography did a lot of the heavy lifting that it just kind of thrusted you within that moment, which I really like. And Ramek was just kind of like that smooth talking. I'm going to try to comfort you. Let me sing a little bit. Let me dance. And I'm like,
Yeah,
see,
he just wanted to consume the culture. He wanted to consume,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
Sam and
Yeah, but see, sometimes to me that's a little bit more terrifying than your outright type of vampire monster where you just know, okay, as soon as they show up, somebody's head is getting ripped off or something. You're like, oh, damn, all right, yeah, we got to run from him. But it's the ones that try to manipulate you and try to be your friend type stuff. To me, is much more troubling because when you have those communication skills down, you can really do more damage because then the humans let their guard down, and that's all you need.
Yeah,
Would
I
would
So
agree.
would
Like,
they would
if you
Jerry
look
Jerry
at,
Dandridge?
yeah,
like, if you look at Nosferatu, right, and compare it to this one, like Olaf, my red flags would have gone off. Just him going, you would have got that. But this dude, I'm not gonna lie, I would let him in my house. He would have been with my wife, and I would have been like, and then he would have pulled that shit, and I would have been like, oh man, that Irish charm got me again.
Yeah,
Damn it.
if I could keep it a buck, Nosferatu was a sucker, man. He did all that shit just to get some nookie. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but did you see who he was
Bust his
getting?
nut.
I would have gone through Europe to get that.
What?
man,
He was
man,
attracted to that forehead. He was
Nosferatu was
attracted to that forehead.
Dude,
She was nothing
I
but
would lick
forehead
that
and nipples,
forehead.
man.
Dude, I would lick that forehead like nobody's business.
man,
Shit,
her
that
forehead
She
was
was
more
built like a
no.
Funko
Her
Pop.
forehead was more powerful than any steak. Like that forehead was crazy, but
Her forehead looks like a Funko Pop. Like that's what she looked like. It's a
Bro, you
Funko.
guys are crazy. She is super fucking hot.
Remick had a mission, man. This dude, there was 2 hours of him just trying to get some pussy. That was it.
Yeah, hey, but here's the thing. That wasn't the comparison. The comparison was Olaf was still a crazy ass. Like, I bet you wouldn't want to be killed by that motherfucker.
I fucking will.
Whereas Remick,
I'll rip that
he,
Steve Harvey mustache off. Fuck out
yeah,
of here.
look, Remick was smooth criminal.
Shit.
I agree with you guys in one sense. He's the guy you would let into your house because he come in and be like, man, I had all this happen. I'd be like, oh man, that's terrible. And
whoa, hang
this is
on,
the
hold on.
back in the day.
Nah,
Even hang
that
on,
white
even though I
tears ain't
said
working
that.
on me.
I mean, hang on. Even though I said that, because in the context of the movie, if he showed up on my doorstep, it would be him getting backhanded, grabbed by the throat, elbow to
Y'all
the face,
cynical.
side kick to the. Because I'm like, there ain't no way humans are that damn nice. I already don't like them, so that would have been some red flags for me. Like like when they're like, man, he gives me the willies. That would have been me, except he'd have been on the ground. But hold on. So Haley Steinfeld's character, Mary. Yes, she can definitely drool in my mouth. Like that scene where she was just like, "Yep, we gonna kill all of you." I'd have been like, "Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and bite me right now. Shoot, I'll take off my whole shirt. Go ahead and bite me." So, I just sometimes in life, I'm like, "Hey, so I get to live forever. I'm gonna have them fangs and stuff." It's just something about that seems very appealing, especially if it's Haley Steinfeld biting me. So,
Okay, have you guys
sometimes in
have
life.
you ever seen Mean Girls? And
Yes.
remember that scene where she was like, she looks down, and the weather today is going to be cold because her nipples were pretty. Come on, man. Haley Steinfeld is, dude. After that movie, I followed her whole career. I haven't watched that one with Megan Fox, Jennifer's Body. Fucking classic.
Ugh. Oh my gosh.
She was good.
Classic.
I mean, we can all admit the whole cast was stellar, man. Like,
Oh
especially
yeah.
Oh,
like I said, I
absolutely.
think Michael B. and Delroy Lindo too, man. I think Delroy
Yeah.
Lindo
Oh,
is
hell yeah.
a
Yeah.
criminally underrated actor. Like the fact that he's never got an Oscar nomination that I can think of, man. It's
That's a
criminally-
great segue to Sinners Oscar potential. You know, and I think Delroy could definitely get a supporting. You know what I'm saying? They're definitely gonna pick up some music stuff. A lot, some technical joints too. So
Oh yeah, the composer, what's his name? Ludwig. How do
yeah,
you say his name? Because Kugler works with him a lot. Ludwig Göransson, I think that's how you say his name.
yeah, he's been doing a lot of different.
the composure. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
I see.
I think
I'm
they gonna
gonna
lock
have
it down for that.
I'm gonna have to be the cynical one here. I think you guys are gonna be surprised. I think this is gonna be a movie we talk about that gets fucked over because it's got two things going against it. It's a horror movie, which is a
Yep.
All black
huge
cast.
negative,
Yep.
and it's an all black cast. Name one movie that got an Oscar nod that wasn't about something
Hey,
fucked up, like
this
the
might be the
Green Book,
change.
all of them. No,
This might be the change. This is where because Oscars is now adding like a best stunt shit, whatever and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, they gotta
all I
start
have
adding
to
that
say
knowledge and
is
horror.
Amelia Perez. That movie got nominated. There, you have no fucking hope. They would rather nominate a movie that has no facts, is a terrible musical, and is the worst movie of any generation for a
And
fucking
it got me kicked out of the Critics Association.
Bro,
Yo,
like
damn, no.
like
Yo,
I would love this to get sound. I definitely think there. Okay, if I'm being serious, if I'm hoping beyond hope, this should get sound design and this should get cinematography. There's not a movie I could see coming out that has better. Maybe Warfare would be the only other movie I could think that has this cinematography. If nothing else, Ryan Coogler and the way he directs the action and the shots and the camera people he works with, this is a fucking gorgeous movie. The shots, especially my favorite and negative, is the dance scene because the shots and the transitions are fucking phenomenal.
there's
The
a science to
choreograph.
it.
Oh, it's on point. Like if I had to give it two things, I would say it was going to be the cinematography and the sound design. Dude, the music alone in this fucking movie, despite my gripes, the music, the way things sound, even when they're okay, not to be crude, but even when he's going down on her, dude, that fucking was on point. It was like the sound design is
You
fucking
had to
dude,
get sound
this shit
effects,
was
but
on
all
point.
I'm telling you, I was clapping. That shit was amazing. I was like, man, the
Okay,
way
well,
he
you know,
was slurping that up, man.
hey,
I'm just
Terrence,
saying,
remember how you was
sound.
talking about how you're surrounded by little humans or whatever. So even though my daughter's 19, right? Me and my daughter went to see it, right? And my daughter's 19 years old. Mind you, she grown. And when that scene came up, I went right into dad mode, and I said,
Covered her
Renee,
eyes.
I said, Renee, look at me. And she's like, Dad, really? I said, yes, really. I said, nigga, look at me. Look at me.
That's hilarious. So I don't know if I would, cover the eyes only because I'm thinking back to when I was a kid, how I was allowed to watch horror
when I
films
was
and
a
stuff.
boy.
So, I'm
Back
just
in the
saying,
day.
like,
I mean,
sometimes in life,
when you have a daughter, you know what I'm saying? Like now, for example, if I was watching that with my 9-year-old son, I can't criticize me as a parent. I'll be like, okay, watch that because at least I know my son's looking at girls. You know what I'm saying? So, okay, yeah, check that out. Educational, but my daughter, no, baby, look at
okay,
me.
but see,
Okay.
but here's the thing, though, Rashad. Like, even though I understand, it's like like you said, she's grown. Now, you know, say if I had a daughter and she was a little ass kid and shit, then no, I would definitely cover the eyes. That'd be different
Yeah,
for me. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, Terrence, you know, you're my boy, but you have no clue on the other end when you're a father. You say that, but once your baby girl is born and
Yeah,
you look at
it's
her
just a
eyes, you're
whole
like,
different
nah,
ballgame.
I'm gonna bubble wrap her and fucking protect her and
No,
everything.
no, no,
Like
no, no, no. Hey, no, no. See, humans love to do that. Like, you got no idea what the father. I'm not saying that I am a father, but what I am saying is that I have the Terrence mentality, which you should know by now, Zod, is very different. So I'm not gonna do things in a certain way. But what I will tell you, honestly, without a daughter being in the equation, if she is a child, I will look after her, but I also don't want to overdo things because that's how you lose kids too.
no,
Yeah,
I get that.
it's a natural tendency though. Trust me, because even to this day, if my daughter put on lip gloss, I'd be like, "What the fuck you got on your mouth?" I said, "Wipe that shit
Or
off."
a skirt too
No,
short, and you're like, she's like, I'm going out. Not in that, you're not.
Yeah, yeah. Like nobody better not touch my baby girl until she's 50.
Yeah,
My son can get ass at any time you want. I'll be proud of him. Like, okay, son, good for you. But my daughter, that's a different thing.
yeah,
see,
like,
I that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a typical way that you expect dads to be, but you know, unfortunately, Terrence does not fall into the typical category. You know, like
Gotcha.
I said, there's certain things that I already know that I'm gonna do, and certain things that I'm not. But I understand and respect it because you guys are fathers. But at the same time, I feel like damn near every dad says the same thing. Not my baby. Take that shit off the lip gloss. Like I've heard it before.
Yeah, it's
dude,
true.
that's okay. So, Terrence, I'll give it to you. When I had no kids, and this is not a knock because I know
But
there's some
I was
serious
a boy.
judgment, but I said the same thing, Terrence. I said I don't get it, but there's something about when your daughter is born. I don't know when it
Mhm.
happens. Maybe you tracked it, Rashad. I didn't, but you just
Oh,
change it.
the second that purple slimy thing came into this world, and the
You
first
just said,
time,
but Terrence, I do agree with you. When she was growing up, like I took her to see Terrifier 3. I take her to see R-rated movies. I
That's
don't have an
fine.
issue.
right,
I don't have an issue with that. And if she's asked me about things like she was asking me about vaping and shit like that, I said, you know what? You're a teenager. You're gonna do it, but I'm gonna lay out what's gonna happen, and
mhm,
then you make the choice. Because I could tell you no, you're still gonna fucking do it anyways.
right.
You
Because
just
that,
gotta show. You just gotta show her those commercials where they have the voice boxes and stuff like that. And then
yeah,
they got the hole in it. Like this is gonna be you.
Hey, plus, even though I'm different, right? Even though Terrence is different, I'm still a black man. So naturally, whether it be the son or the daughter, if I'm gonna, you know, help them navigate this trash ass planet, I got to make sure they safe, right? So you know,
yep.
naturally, the conversations about the world and sex and condoms, like all that shit, gonna be on the table, whether they want to hear it or not.
Oh yeah,
So you
I
know,
agree.
it
You
just
gotta be bold with that because it's a new age. But
Well,
getting back to the Oscars thing, to answer your question, yeah, I think sound design. I think we can all agree sound design,
Mhm.
cinematography,
yeah,
on
Costume
point,
costume
top
design
notch.
too. I think costume
Uh,
yeah,
design.
costumes.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
I
definitely.
think they get nominated for like they get like 4 categories. If you know Warner Brothers is smart, they'll campaign it. But to
Yeah.
kind of start wrapping things up, let's get
Wow.
into Sinners 2 predictions.
Oh, I'd say that like 30 minutes ago.
What you
Um,
mean? What you mean to start wrapping things up? Like I thought we
yeah,
was doing an
man.
hour.
Nah,
this
nah,
man
nah,
always
nah.
want to go 3 hours.
Man,
nah.
listen, give Terrence
A Marvel movie.
that bro go freaking 30 hours straight. It still won't be tired.
Hell yeah.
Ter-
I
Ter-
mean, Terrence has a lot
Terrence,
to say. That's what.
Terrence, what would you like to see in Sinners 2? Like a different time, place, or different? I mean, time period, or maybe we see Smoke 10 years later from those events, or just what would you want to see?
Oh man, I could spend 80 hours on this.
Jesus Christ.
All right, so
Let me pull my
uh,
damn thing. Here we go.
to shorten it for this stream, I would say that a few things that I would like to see is that, you know, Smoke survived. You know, you can have a very intimate story with him. You know, you can put him in whatever time period you want after the fact, and you know, maybe by the end of that journey, just have him come across his brother again. That'd be cool. And then you know, maybe for whatever reason, you know, he got to put his brother down. You know, it's like you let the brother go once, but you can't do it twice based upon everything that he's done. You know, they can either do that or they can just give us a bunch of new characters, you know, and
Yeah,
focus on, you know, say if they jump to maybe the 70s or even the 80s, that'd be cool.
be like an anthology kind of.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, I feel like no matter where you jump to, if you can somehow always get back to like a smoke and or stack, I feel would be key to kind of, you know, make sure that the characters are deeply cemented in that franchise. Because as it stands, I think that Michael B. Jordan's performance as both Smoke and Stack that is already iconic in the horror genre for what it was able to do and bring something special to the table. So you don't want the audience to necessarily forget about them. So you always want to incorporate them in some kind of way, even if it is a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that'd be an interesting direction, and you could make multiple movies if they went the anthology route, like you just different time periods, different vampires, different
Oh, wait
different
a minute.
characters.
I got a question though. Okay, so Perk. And then, you
Yeah.
know, Rashad and Zah, you can chime in too if you want. Now, so say, you know, we all chilling together and, you know, I get bit and stuff. Like, you guys gonna try to find the cure, right? Like, you ain't gonna try to kill me or
Nah,
nothing.
bro,
Fuck
you gonna
no!
hit with a
I'm
steak.
throwing a
You get hit with a
Bible,
steak.
fucking
Like, listen,
garlic.
last thing we need is a martial arts Terrence that's a fucking vampire.
You vampire. Fuck that! I ain't
We
getting
get the
fucking
steak,
You
bro.
ain't
slaughtered out there.
Blade. You're not Blade,
You
nigga.
don't need evil blade of this motherfucker. Okay, you're getting the steak immediately. All right.
But what about the power of friendship and stuff like we learned in
Nah, this ain't Naruto. So
Look, we will stand by your grave. We'll pour out a shot. We'll do a respect.
you be like, here lies Terrence. He was cool. He was a cool guy. He was a cool guy.
but you
We'll
know,
put on
okay,
Sometimes
your
in life,
so
grave.
though. But sometimes in life, though. That's
Like
what
sometimes in
happened.
life. That's what we'll put on your grave.
wow, so you're not even gonna you ain't even gonna like hear me out or nothing. This one gonna be straight to the death, huh?
Get the steak
Yes.
immediately. Then afterwards, I'll pray for you afterwards, bro.
Hey,
Man.
here's the thing. Just so Perp and Rashad don't have to feel bad about killing, I will kill you. See, like, I'll take the hate because I'm Irish and Puerto Rican. They already fucking hate me anyways. So
Oh shit! Don't
I'll
kill
do the kill, and they can keep their hands clean. And if you gotta haunt someone, you get to haunt me. That's how I do, bro. I will let you haunt me.
I only wanted to ask that, you know, just because the way Cornbread when he came back to the door, like, hey God, yeah, you know, just gotta let me in. Everything gonna be fine. Yep, everything good. You know,
That
like,
was funny. Yeah.
Especially not him. Especially not him.
So, Rashad, what are some predictions that you want to see in the sequel?
All right, so hear me out here. So, okay, the movie ended in 1992, right? So, I say
Oh boy.
if they do a sequel, okay, let's have it where somebody else just came in. Okay, so have it
Yeah.
where hip hop is just going mainstream, right? So, so you can use fictional characters, but let's say okay, Run DMC just blew up, LL just blew up, hip hop is now on the scene, right? And if you remember, if you're the real life story of this so-called secret meeting that took place among all the music executives, where they said, okay, they want to inject gangster and just derogatory shit into the hip hop music and the culture to influence the youth. Okay, so Malik, what's the head vibe? What's the Remick? I'm sorry, Remick. He's part of this vampire nation, right? This cult of vampires, right? He's just one of many. But now in the second movie, you have this whole conglomerate of them, and they're having this meeting, and they use Stacks. They use Stack to, poison the hip hop culture by creating gangster rap. So what started out is, conscious hip hop and, educational hip hop. Now you get to the gangster shit. You get to the bitches and hoes and shooting motherfuckers. And then you see how the youth gets influenced by this. So now the youth want to all be gangsters and stuff. Then you have like the Boys in the Hood and the Minister Societies and all that shit. And it just starts a whole culture of just negative stereotypes within the black community.
damn. All right, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
God damn, man. Don't take away my Biggie. What the fuck?
Yo, I mean, yo, because if you
Yeah,
know,
that
yo, 'cause
sounds
if you
dope.
notice, yo, if you know, yo, when Stack showed back up again, first thing I said was, I'm like, yo, why they got him looking like Young Diddy?
Yo, man, come on.
You know what I'm
We need
saying?
the
I think
Lock
that'd be perfect. So, yo,
and
it would
DMX.
be the Empire Strikes Back of this move of the like it'll be the darkest chapter where the bad guys win at the end, and then of course the third movie is where everything wraps up, and now it all comes together. But this is like the dark period of of the culture. You know what I'm saying? And Stack is gonna be a part of that. Him and your girl Haley.
Okay. Aside.
All right, this is what I'm saying. You leave this as a one and done, right? Wait a
Fuck
couple
out
of
of here.
years. No, just
One
hear me
and
out.
done.
Right? You let people think it's a one and done. You wait a couple of years, and
5 years.
you do what Unbreakable did. You make a totally unrelated movie and then connect them.
All right. All right.
Bam! You could be like, and then we could establish this is actually a Sinner's universe, right? He does a bunch of different horror movies unconnected, we think, and then
Ooh,
all of a sudden,
to your point, you call it Saints.
yeah, and then you have like
Wow.
I
Okay.
steal the
Okay.
fucking Dyer scene, right? And you have Stacks in there, and he's just like looking at the screen while all this vampire shit is going on, and we go, "Oh shit!" And bam, you see Sinners 2.
Wait.
And
What's gonna be the cue? Because remember at the end of Split, I like what you said too, Zod. That's some sneaky stuff. But like, you remember how at the end they started playing that Unbreakable music, and you're like, wait a minute, I've heard that before. So what's gonna
I
be the
got
cue?
it. The song that he plays at the end during the post credit scene, because it was the same song
Mm,
that he always did. That one tune
okay.
where he was
Okay.
showing them what they could do. I forgot the fucking song. Somebody help me out here. There was a constant song he always
Yeah.
did, a little jingle, a little rhythm that he always did.
Right. Okay. Okay. So
And
you think everybody will be able to pick up on that one?
yeah, like you do something like do a little jazz beat or something like that, and you have the character. And everybody who's a real one who's watched a movie and they see the character automatically, but then you hear the music, bam! That was the cleverest M. Night Shyamalan thing that's ever been done. I was saying
But uh,
that would be cool to make it a connected universe. Like do
Okay.
a bunch of different stories that people think aren't connected, and then drop the sequel and
even
tie them all in.
even to go to kind of double down on the whole Saints and Sinners, because the Sinners were like Smoke and all them, like everybody at the juke joint, they were sinners, and you do the Saints movie where it's like more of the vampires POV
Yeah,
and stuff
or
like that.
do people who are righteous, right, or have some kind of religious type of background, right? Saints, like the voodoo lady was in there, but do like a kind of inverse to that, and then have different characters kind of appear, little nods that people can get where they go, "Oh, wait a second, wasn't that character in Sears?" But then they forget about it, and then you throw them back in, and then bam, you make a
Oh,
sequel after
I
you
got
drop
it.
the big reveal.
I got it. So like, cause not from you saying that, that just got me to think of a DC character, Papa Midnight, that's connected to John Constantine. So if you
Ah,
do, yep. So if you do some like Papa Midnight esque kind of stuff, and then
and
it
that's
ties
where you
back
can have
into the
Stacks.
vampires.
You can have him in every single movie, just kind of
Yeah.
in the background, or just appear somewhere, talking to somewhere where people go, "Oh, wait a second, I know him," right? Because okay, think about the
Right.
concept.
Yep.
They didn't just talk about vampires, they talked about a veil that was being broken with not just vampires, but all sorts of shit. You could
Yeah.
have somebody do the right jingle that actually opened the veil and have
That would
another.
be really cool if it's not just vampires and it's like they have werewolves or they'll have like sirens or just weird shit.
Hey, I already told you, like, if I hear that somebody take me, I'm like, nope, I can't. That's gonna traumatize me.
Yeah,
It's
that's
something
You could
that's
about
play
that.
the
you could
thing.
play that as the cue.
Okay.
When
Okay.
we're setting up the diner scene, right? You're
Right.
gonna say
Okay.
that somebody take it, and people will be like, "Wait a second," and then you show Zach's there and whatever, and like, yes, I'm drawing a lot from Split. I fucking love that movie, but like,
Yeah.
I thought that is such a great setup for anybody trying to make a connected universe, but they don't want to let people in on it. So like,
Yeah.
do different characters, do different stories, but have one central character that we know from this movie just kind of drop in. And that's where you get Michael B. Jordan. You can still have him in
Right.
all of the other
Right.
movies,
Yeah.
and
That
he
that's
can
what
be
I
the
was
thing
saying.
that
Yeah.
links them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Like you can do this stuff, and then you find a
Stack,
way to bring in Stack or Smoke. Whatever you want to do. Just
Stack and Mary. You can just have the second one be
yeah.
about Stack and Mary and stuff like this.
You
It
could
Oh,
could
just
be
sure.
bring
like
in
Yeah.
Mary
Yeah.
as a little
Yeah.
because some people might not remember it, and so it's a thing with our brains where you'll see something and be like, "Man, that person looks familiar," and people go
Right.
back and be like, "Oh my God, they were in Sears, they were at the bar." You know what I mean? You can just throw these little nods and do like a cool, different, unique, connected horror universe. Because I've been dying for one of those, like a really good all the stories don't have to be the same, but they're all in the universe.
Can we also get like, okay, if Mary shows up, can we get another scene with the spit going into the mouth? Like that should look great in IMAX.
Oh yeah, we need more. Can we
that's
Yeah.
peak.
resurrect
That's peak.
Haley Steinfeld in this? Bring her back.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the discussion to kind of wrap things up. Final thoughts and scores. Zod.
Like I said, I gave this an 8. I was right along with you, maybe an 8.5. I think this is a great movie. It needs to be seen in the cinema. I just caught a few things, and look, this is my thing. The fact that I am nitpicking on this movie proves how much I love the movie because I'm taking time out of my schedule despite all of the crazy stuff that's going down that I have to watch. There's the last season of You. There's like a bunch of stuff that I have to cover. But I have watched this movie like 3 times. And
Wow.
that means I really enjoy this film. I love the hell out of it. And I bring these things up because I think Ryan Coogler is going to do nothing but go up. And these are just suggestions and hopes that I have to improve because nobody's perfect. I love Jordan Peele, and apparently he's acquired a taste. I fight on a fucking hill about his movies, but I love all of them for very unique reasons. But I know he can grow. So we got to be critical about the things we love because it brings out the best in the artists that we love. And at
Sure.
the end
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
day, go see this movie. It's Perp Talk Me Up. It's an 8.5 for me. I really love this film, and I think you get the best experience from seeing it in the theaters. And I think it's one of the smartest, most intelligent written messages I've seen in
And,
years.
and if you like movies like this, y'all would like Freaky Tales. Freaky Tales was really dope too. Freaky Tales was cool. But Rashad, final thoughts, score.
Final thoughts. Yeah, dope film, A+. I have like besides little nitpicks here and there, I thought this movie is a masterpiece. This is Ryan Coogler's best film, and I think this is like only his 5th movie, also, right? Because Ryan Coogler hasn't directed a
Yeah.
lot. He did, but
Nah, he hasn't.
Fruitvale, Creed, Black Panther 2. Yes, this is number 5. So for a man that directed only 5 movies, man, and for each of them to have critical and audience approval, yeah, man, he could be our Scorsese, man. Shit, I tell you, Italians got Scorsese, we got Spike, we got John, and now we got Ryan, man. So you know what I mean? And I still like my pitch for the sequel, all right? Because the fact, Zada, I like your idea too. When you mentioned M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, you know what I'm saying? I can't stand that motherfucker.
Hey, look.
I want to
You
fight him
still
so
got the
bad.
best twist. You got that. I will die on the hill. Look, no matter whether Shyamalan has a good or a bad film, one thing I can guarantee you, you are always entertained. Because when it's bad, it's
Shit.
really fucking bad, and when
Yeah.
it's
Like
good,
like
it's really
Trap.
good.
Man, look,
Trap was
I
great.
have a list of
Favorite
celebrities that I
movie.
want to fight, and he's one of them. So I was on board until you mentioned his name. So I'm sticking with my Diddy pitch, right? And that's it, and that's all.
So Terrence, final thoughts, score.
All right, cool. Yep, 10 hours. All right, yeah. All right, so yep, my final thoughts. I just love the fact that, I did go to see this. I go to see a lot of movies, and the fact that it was a packed theater, it just it was a great experience. It was one of the best movie experiences I've ever had, and I've been to see a lot of films, and I just, like I said earlier, I like the atmosphere of the movie, the way the cinematography is done, the positive spin, on black people, on my people. I like how they put us in that kind of light, and just sprinkled in some supernatural elements. And I feel like when you do that, you create something that sticks out, because for those of us that have seen a lot of horror films, we've seen, the zombies and the vampires and the werewolves and pretty much everything that a lot of us have thought of time and time again. So you really need something extra. And I feel that this movie does give you that extra, and that extra is strong substance that when you leave that theater, you're just really thinking about, like, what'd you think about this scene, or what was your favorite character? And even characters like Sammy, which I didn't mention, the preacher boy, right? Like, even characters like him, like the characters were so phenomenal. I was surprised with how well everything was constructed from Ryan Coogler. So even though I seen his other stuff, I was like, man, this might be his best work. And not just that, I'm like, this is a 10 out of 10 masterpiece for me, because I felt like it transcended the horror genre. Like, it's not just, oh, this is just a great horror
you
film, but it's a great movie in
Great
general.
film, period. Yeah.
you I've said this. I was like, I want to see him dabble in other genres. Like, I want to see him make a slasher, make a sci-fi movie. Which, like, funny enough, he's going to be doing the X Files. But I
I read
think
that.
he's on his way to making his masterpiece. I personally don't think he has dropped it yet, but he's damn near close. And I think
What?
that would be. I think if he does like a rom com, that would be his best movie.
Perp,
I, I, I,
I gotta say this, man, because how you said that. I'm like, if
You
you
know,
can make the spit from Haley Steinfeld's mouth look amazing,
I
that
was gonna
alone, man.
argue it wasn't his masterpiece till
get
you
him,
said that, and then I was like,
get him,
yeah.
Terrence,
I
get
no,
him.
don't
I
know.
just don't think. I think he's almost there, but just just misses the mark in a couple areas. But
Yeah,
like,
well,
if somebody thinks it's
what
a
did I
masterpiece,
say
that's fine.
earlier though? What did I say earlier? And Zod was like, "Oh yeah, that's true." Just the idea that the numbers aren't that far apart. So I think we can all agree that this movie was dope as hell, and that's what counts.
Mm,
Yeah,
yeah, true.
Terrence, you wouldn't say this is not his Goodfellas. This is not his Do the Right Thing. This is
This is
not
not
his Godfather.
this is not better. Like, this is not better than Get Out. Like, I'll put
no,
it that
this
way.
isn't as
Like,
Get Out to me. This
I
is
think so. Shit,
No,
I think
no,
no.
so.
hey,
I
hey,
think this is the movie you see before the director makes his greatest film. Like, this is experimental in a sense, and it's also refining what he's done in his other movies. He's experimenting in a new genre, but the camera work and things like that are very similar to his other films. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? This is his learning stage. I think we're
th-
still on our
nah.
way to
See,
his
but
masterpiece.
I go back to what I said earlier in the stream, which was what he was saying in his interview. Like, he put his all into this movie, and I could see it. Like, just
mhm.
He put his
the
ankle
way
in
he
this
was
shit.
breaking down, like, okay, I want the audience to experience these characters, and there's going to be some surprises in there, that individuals of movies that, they're going to get. And then, if you like black culture, there's going to be things that I'm going to present to you that are going to be special. And because he was able to do that, I feel like that's even more of a reason why we got to give him his flowers. for all the stuff that all of us have been saying is very similar. Like, look at how he was able to present this, and individuals who weren't black, right? You know, other ethnicities, they said, like, man, I feel like, you know, I was able to enjoy that, but I wasn't being attacked, you know, like how they like
He
to
was
do all
being
this agenda
alienated.
shit. Yeah. So I feel like that's important because that's rare. And that's just only a few elements out of that whole entire movie because it's a collection of amazing things. So to me,
Mm.
that's why I say it's a masterpiece. So if he can do another one, I feel like he can just do another great film to me. And then depending, you know, sure, maybe a
Yeah,
little
I
better
would just
on
say
the same level, but you know,
it's the same with like Jordan Peele though. At the same time, like we just gotta still give them time because they're still like they're not like nine deep. But like I want to get to the point where we're seeing like a Jordan Peele movie like every other year, and then in between those years we're getting like Ryan Coogler because like that's what I like about watching Nolan and Villeneuve, and like because they've been going back and forth and making completely different movies. Sometimes they'll do similar movies, but like they're on the same trajectory and stuff. And then we could get that same thing with Peele and
you know
Yeah,
what?
but
I
to me,
would want that perk, like
mhm.
you know, Jordan Peele and Ryan Coogler, but you know, like I said many times before, you know, Hollywood don't care about black people. Like you got to just take shit and do it. You know, notice how Ryan Coogler wrote, directed, and produced this movie. You know, and when
Mhm.
you when you either make your own opportunity or you're given one, I always feel that it's important to make a statement, and I feel like Ryan Coogler definitely made a statement with this movie.
And to your point about that, I think that's definitely going to change because then next year Jordan Peele's dropping his new movie. So
Yeah.
depending on what that
I
is,
got
it's like they can go. That's going
I
to change a lot of things.
look, like I got two favorite directors. One of my favorite directors of all time is Quentin Tarantino. He's my gold
Yeah.
standard for everything I watch. But Jordan Peele came out of nowhere for me, and I'm just gonna say it. Maybe this is a hot take. Maybe I'll get some heat for this, but I think that Jordan Peele is still ahead of Ryan Coogler because if you know the history behind Jordan Peele, he was a fucking comedian
yeah,
and a
Key and
damn
Peele.
good one,
Yeah.
and he broke into the horror space, and not only did it, but for me, his writing is still a tad bit more intellectual over what Ryan Coogler was doing. What Ryan Coogler did here was a very basic premise that he interwove a lot of deep thoughts in that for me didn't always work. With that being said, why I said I think he's on the same trajectory of finding his movie is because for me, it felt like he was still testing the waters. Like Terrence, every director says that they're confident is their best movie ever. That's their shtick. They got to. But still think, I still feel in my soul that he is still on the verge of finding that great movie. That one where I look and I go, you know what, Terrence, you're fucking right. This is a 10 out of 10. I can't even,
Like
I
on
have
some
no words
Forrest
for
Gump
it.
type of shit.
Yeah, like,
But
Well, you know,
I feel
like
like
the
I
he
thing is,
said
you have to
though,
still
find your
hasn't
niche.
hit it.
but
Well, the
like
thing
I
is,
said though, the number. So again, your numbers are not that far off from mine. That's an important thing that I'm going to keep
No,
highlighting.
no,
And number
well,
two,
I,
nah, well,
and then number two, when
but
it
check
comes
out
to
though,
these
like
direct,
Zod, you made a good point, because every director has their niche, right? So, like for example, Martin Scorsese does his best work when he's telling stories about scumbags. For whatever reason, Martin Scorsese can tell a story about a scumbag like no other. Like people like to say, well, he does gangster genres. Well, yeah, but for every Goodfellas, you have a Taxi Driver, you have Wolf of Wall Street, all about kind of bad people. You know what I mean? But that's his niche. But then when he does something like say, not Passion of the Christ, Last Temptation of Christ, or The Color of Money, you know what I'm saying? Good movies, but you can tell he's out of his element when he does those type of movies. Like you can tell, you know what I'm saying? He's not really comfortable doing something like that, or like The King of Comedy. He's not comfortable with that shit. Jordan Peele, his strength is telling like out there stories that that is interwoven with black culture, but at the same time goes into that Twilight Zone shit. That's his strength. Ryan Coogler is, he tells urban stories, but in a contemporary fashion. You know what I mean?
I don't fully agree with that. So here's the thing. When it comes
What
to
you don't agree with, brother? Tell me, what don't you
okay,
agree with?
so when it comes to
Just what the fuck you don't
when
agree
it
with?
comes when it comes to Ryan Coogler, like when I mentioned that he was breaking down about how he felt about the movie, it wasn't just because all directors say that. Like I pay attention to the way that they articulate things. And most of them, they do say things that sound like they're reading from a script, but the way that Ryan Coogler broke down all the segments about his movie without explaining it is on some intellectual shit that I picked up on being analytical myself. I was like, how did you just explain your movie, but then not explain it and then go, yeah, go check it out on Friday? That's amazing to me.
No, what I'm
What don't you agree with what I said?
Oh, okay, so let me continue. So
Come on,
when it
come on.
comes to Jordan Peele, like him being comfortable in his element, he wasn't entirely comfortable when he first started. I feel like he got more comfortable based upon the positive buzz in relation to his projects. So if you tie that back to say Ryan Coogler, I feel like every time I've listened to Ryan Coogler with anything, he's been confident in it and that he wants to be able to share
Nah, nah,
his vision with everyone else. So
nah,
I
nah,
feel
no.
nah,
like if
not
you're
See,
going to
forever.
build,
Not
that's
Wakanda
see,
forever,
that
dog.
was
Not
my.
Wakanda forever.
oh no, no,
Wakanda,
no, no. But see, wait, hang on. Wakanda Forever is different because the MCU overall the last 5 years have been trash because of them checking off boxes. So
okay,
you
I'm saying,
throw you
but that was, and I give him props for salvaging what he could because I heard he had a whole different script that he was gonna do, and then once Chadwick died, he had to. But that's still his film. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's his
yeah, of
film, but
course,
it's not his film.
but see, that's true. But see, but to me, when you're tied up in that Disney shit, I'm gonna be like, okay, let me see what you've done before and what you do after, because over there, they're on some bullshit anyway. Look at what they've been doing to all these characters, right?
Okay, hold on. I just want to say to piggyback off of what you were saying. I wasn't saying that at the time he doesn't think this is a great film. I don't think he's that kind of director. I didn't get that feeling like you from the interviews. What I'm saying is, I think that for right now, he feels that this is the best, but there's room to grow. And
Mhm.
like maybe 2, 3 years down the road, we see a film and he's like,
His greatest
this.
film is going to be an A24 movie. Ryan Coogler is going to make an A24 movie.
That's what
Mark
I'm
my
saying. Like
Hope you,
T Virus, I'm saying
yeah.
something where you get the director and how deeply personal. Like it doesn't even have to pop off right away. Just it's one of those films that just gets truly appreciated. I feel like this still isn't. This is him starting to get comfortable, but I'm saying when he hits that movie, that one movie where
Mhm.
he's like, yeah, I fucking
and
spent 80 days no
Do you
sleep.
see this
I did
time
this, I
clock?
did that.
Zod, do you see this time clock on here? How long we've been talking about this movie? I think that proves his greatness in itself.
what I would want to see right after Peele gets done his movie is we need to see a Coogler and Jordan Peele collab, like Coogler
Bro,
making a movie
That
for
is
Funky
going to
Paul.
destroy the box office if that happens. I'm telling you now.
but but
That
I,
would
but
be
I
amazing.
will say this though, man. The difference between the both of them. This is just me. Now I'm not gonna speak for everybody, but to me, Ryan Coogler films for me are just more relatable.
Yep.
Whereas Jordan Peele, I'm sorry, I respect him. I respect his artistry and all that shit, but his stuff goes fucking out there, man. You know what I'm saying?
Not
Like
really.
Get Out. No, hold up. Get Out. I loved. I'm like, Get Out. Okay, this is a fresh take on the horror genre. I loved it. And then he did
Yeah.
Us. And Us was so out there. If you go back and watch my review, I did not know what, like, that was one of the few reviews that
I
I
love
did
us.
where I did not
Yeah.
know what the
Us
fuck
is
to say
cool,
about
but
that movie. I did not know how to talk about that movie. And then Nope, I fell asleep on that shit twice, dog. I fell
That's
asleep on
crazy.
Nope, and that shit was over my fucking head. Q reviews, Q tried to break it down for me bit by bit, and I feel like one of those remedial motherfuckers
I,
that they snatch in the class, put him in remedial class.
hey,
I feel like a slow kid because
hey,
I'm like,
hey,
I still don't get this movie.
to be honest, Rashad, it's cool that you brought that up because from my perspective in my circle, it's like, okay, Jordan Peele, if you want to speak on him, like you said, it's like Get Out. You're like, okay, cool. Now, even though I liked Us and Nope, a lot of humans didn't like those, and there is a general consensus that he can't make a film as good as Get Out. Like that. That's all I'm saying. That's a real
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, Get
Which is
Out.
crazy.
Okay, I mean, dog. I would say I would compare it to Get Out was like Boys in the Hood. Us was Poetic Justice. Nope was fucking I don't know, Baby Boy. I guess you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I feel I got you because I've seen all those films. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying. Like Nope was just it was too out there for me. Like I don't know. Like what the fuck
It's
was he
really
trying
not
to
though.
say?
It's his most simple film though. Like like he literally gives you like this shit. It's almost so like it's almost like he's holding people's hand while watching that movie. But like I really like Nope as far as what he does with like the sci-fi stuff. Like that was something unique and still going back to the history of like black people in cinema and stuff like that with the horse dude, whatever the fuck and whatnot. And that
No.
shit was dope.
Like I said, like I do like all of his films, but like
Uh-huh.
that's what I'm saying. I do get what Rashad is saying because even when I think about my black friends and shit, when Nope came out, they said nope, they don't want to watch it. They was like, "What the fuck is this?" But then when it came to just seeing the trailer for Sinners, they was like, "Oh yeah, we going to watch this shit. This gonna be lit." It just
It
you
was.
have a certain feeling where it does matter if the audience is feeling something, and then especially if you see that the cast is a particular race and that same race is like, okay, yeah, we want to fuck with this, we want to see what time it is.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. It would be like they were just too out there for me. Whereas Ryan Coogler, his stuff is more like, okay, I can relate to these stories. Like I've lived these stories or I know somebody that has lived those stories. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
even with the movie Sinners, you know what I'm saying?
I'm
Like even though it takes place in the 30s, but still you can somewhat relate to that shit. You know what I'm saying? Even the
I'm
dialogue
I,
where the characters are written, you're like, because you look at no, come on, Kiki Palmer got on my last she got on my last bad nerve.
I
she was
disagree.
good in that.
Look, I'll die on the fucking hill. That movie was amazing. But I'm sorry to interrupt, Perp. I heard all this shit. I just want to say, like, I am just saying that to Rashad's point, like, I don't think we've seen the seamless blend yet of what he can do with mixing different elements. I think this was just a template, at least for me. And this is a compliment. I think that in the future, whatever movie he puts out is going to be amazing because he's going to take all of these experiences and craft that movie. Like, we could argue subjectively or objectively what's the greatest movie of all time. We'll all have different answers, but they're on a level where multiple people agree. I don't think this is quite the movie. Like, it's popular, a lot of people like it, but
It
this
got
isn't
an A cinema score, Zod. You
no,
okay, you
no,
know, being in the horror, like
hold on, let me finish. I'm not going by cinema score. I'm not going by all that shit that we think about critically. I'm going by people, and so far, it's doing great in the box office. It's making sales. It's doing what it needs to do. But I'm saying it's not to me that movie that's going to set the world on fire yet. I think that we
it's on
I'll
have
fire,
tell you
not
dude.
seen that.
that movie that you're talking about is going to be a rom com, and it's gonna start. It's gonna star the dude that played Sammy and old girl that played Paulina, and it's gonna
And
be an
Michael B.
A24
Jordan.
movie.
Well, I
Shout
no, no, no.
out to
The reason
Paulina,
why I
man. That's
brought up
big.
the reason why I brought up the cinema score, even though, like, normally I don't care about that, is just the fact that that's a huge accomplishment for a damn horror
Yeah,
movie.
for sure,
I
for
was
sure.
just talking about how they don't respect horror, and Ryan Coogler came out here, bam, a cinema score. Humans are showing up to see this horror film, and humans are
Right.
talking about it, and there's a lot of positive buzz. Like I keep hearing, it's good. It's great. It's a masterpiece. And then even the humans that have nitpicks, they're still like, man, this shit is very good. Go
Right.
see it. So I'm like, that's a
Yep.
huge W to me, no matter how
Yeah,
you slice.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
for
this is
sure.
it's the best movie to date. You know what I'm saying? And that this is coming from
Look,
me where
let's.
I love Fruitvale Station, I love Creed, I love Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? But I think this is so far his best film.
But Black Panther did $1 billion, is what I'm saying. And hold up,
Sure.
before this isn't a discussion about Marvel, but there was that caught attention like that but for me, it wasn't an artistic film. It was just one of those. It happened to be in the lineup films. This, I'm waiting for a film that's personal to him that catches on fire, like Jordan Peele would Get Out, like that kind of a thing where you could tell it's not corporate. It's
He
not
needs
big
his
budget.
he needs his Godfather.
His
Yes,
Godfather, his
that's what I'm
Goodfellas,
saying. He
his Do
hasn't
the Right
hit his
Thing.
Godfather or his
Do,
Do the Right Thing.
do I have
And
to
it's not.
mention the Haley Steinfeld spit in IMAX again? Like I'm just saying.
Come on,
No,
that isn't fair.
this movie, Haley
We'll make it go
Steinfeld
10.
spit. God damn.
Yeah.
Can
But
we
yeah,
all
this is
agree this is the only movie we saw Haley Steinfeld spit like that? Like that was.
Right.
yeah, they
She
got
wasn't doing it
Right,
like
but
she wasn't
okay,
doing
but
it like that
with
in the
me,
MCU. Like I was
well,
waiting to
listen,
see that with Kate Bishop, but I was like, nah, Disney ain't gonna let her pop off like that. So you know.
Oh,
they
yo,
ain't
but
gonna let her
listen,
spit on no arrows.
we can all admit, yeah,
dude, if
hey,
that happens, 10 out of 10.
hey,
Right,
we can
right.
all admit though, this is the best movie of the year so far, right?
Yeah, man.
I
Yeah,
think, I
man.
think, I
This
think we can all
movie.
admit that, and that's not saying a
Yeah.
lot, but I think this is the best
Uh,
movie
No, I
so far.
disagree. I
it's
would
in my
say
top
Warfare.
it's in my top 10, but I got a couple movies over it. But
You got, wait, what you got over it,
Wow, Perp,
I
don't do this.
got
Don't do this.
Deja 2. That's that Chinese joint that came out earlier this year. That's still my number one movie of the year.
Okay,
Ooh,
okay,
And
okay. I'm not gonna be
that's my
mad at
only
you.
that's my only 5-star movie this year.
Okay,
what's it called?
I'm not mad at that, Perp.
It's
However,
Deja 2.
I'm not mad at that, Perp.
It's the only movie that make $2 billion this year. It's the only movie to make $2 billion.
Hey, I'm gonna have
Okay.
to say, and maybe this is because I served, but my number one so far is Warfare. I had fucking so I had PTSD watching that movie because
Yeah,
of the fucking soundscape, and it's like I know I'm kind of cheating because it goes back to my personal life, but like for
no.
me, yeah, like Warfare and like being back in there, and like it's so funny because like people have commented how slow it is. If you guys ever worked in a service, dude, action happens in spurts. You could be sitting on a place for like 10 hours and jack shit happens. And then all of a sudden, the next thing you know, there's fucking rockets and shit flying over your head. And for me, Warfare slightly edged out. Like if I did my top 10 list tonight, right now, I would say it would be Warfare number one and Sinners number two because it just topped it out just on the emotions and
The
the feel
authenticity, yeah. No,
and
listen,
the
Zod.
intensity.
Hey,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
wait.
Zod. Yeah, Zod. No, check it out, bro. Yeah, I saw Warfare last week, and when I watched that, I put that number one. And mind you, I never served, but I said in my review, I said this is as close to war that you will get to if you never been in battle before. Because I walked out of there wiping dirt off me as if I was in the trenches with the motherfuckers. That's how authentic that shit was. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I will agree. Yeah, right now, reverse. I have Sinners number one, Warfare number two by a short and curly.
Okay, but okay,
Short and
so
curly.
to what
I
Zod said,
got two horror movies over Sinners right now.
What?
wait, hold on.
Yes.
Let me address what Zod said. So, you know, Zod, you served, right? You know, I respect that only because, you know, I know you and you're a friend and stuff. So, you know, I've always said that, you know, I'm not going to just automatically respect a human because they served. It depends on what type of person the individual is, you know, which will warrant my respect, right? So, as you said, you know, because you served, you feel a certain way and it hits you deep in your feels based upon your experience. So I get why you would put that as number one and one of your favorites. But for me, you know, I didn't serve. Now I know a lot of humans that went to different branches of the military and stuff. But for me, you know, when I analyzed both Warfare and Sinners, I said Warfare is really good. I think specifically for the use of sound, right? Like I told
Oh
humans,
yeah.
I still have Saving Private Ryan over it in terms of the movie as a whole, but the experience for the sound, I feel is, you know, where I would put that, you know, over Saving Private Ryan just for the sound, right? But then when I saw Sinners, I was like, this is a masterpiece. But, you know, I get that they're kind of neck and neck if I'm going to be objective, but
Yeah.
I feel like Warfare, as I said in my review, it hits harder for individuals who have served, like you just mentioned. So it's crazy how you mention that now, and that's what I said in my review. Like, if you served, I could imagine, like, them going, man, this is a masterpiece, this is the best movie and stuff. And I wouldn't be mad at them just because they have their experiences. It's one of the few rare times where that's not going to be something that I really, argue and debate with them. But, with Sinners, though, it just encompasses so many different things. You know what I mean? And that's why I was like, this is the best movie of the year, not just for everything that it presented, but also all of the accomplishments that it's doing money wise with the cinema score. I'm looking at it from all different angles.
No, I
Yeah,
think
it's definitely it's still early.
I think Warfare is probably the most authentic. I've
Yeah.
never served, but man, that shit was one of the few war movies where, like, you watch Saving Private Ryan, it's like, okay, I'm watching a movie, but when I watch Warfare, I felt I was in the movie, if that makes sense.
Oh,
Yeah,
Because,
yeah,
like,
no, yeah,
they
I agree with
filmed
that.
that as if, okay, I'm gonna bring the audience into this film, and you're gonna experience this shit the way I
Right.
wrote it. And I walked in, I felt that shit, dog.
Oh, absolutely. And
Y'all,
that's
y'all
what I'm
gotta
saying. Yeah.
y'all gotta watch The Ugly Stepsister.
I'm
That
going to
shit's
see that
crazy.
tomorrow, dog. I'm going to see that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna check
I got
that.
that over Sinners for sure. And
Wait, hold on. Wait, hold on. Zod, did you hear what I said? Because, like, I don't want him to. I don't know if he stepped away or not.
What?
No, I was saying, did you hear what I was saying about
No,
Warfare?
I 100%, I 100% agree with what you said. But like for me, so far, it's a testament that like this month has only really just begun, and gentlemen, we have been sitting here for just about 2 hours now, and we have two great movies so far that are even in the conversation. Like, here's the deal. The Sinners is all in all a great movie, and the fact it's in this conversation already, and we haven't even gotten through the year. This was the shot I needed for horror, because I agree with you guys. Like, there's been a couple of good movies here and there, but nothing that's really like knocked my socks off. I
Yeah.
love Companion. I don't think you could really count that as horror though. Um, but like, this is like the first movie I saw where I was like, yeah, we're back. Like, you had the Shutter movie with John Lithgow, that Penny doll thing, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But like, I'm talking about the first big scale release for horror genre. Like, this is like the first like big budget release, and it gave me hope that like horror is gonna come out swinging this year.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Shoot, even the humans that I know that don't watch horror, they was like, "Hey man, T, what's going on with Sinners? You going to see that? Yeah, you mind if I come along?" Like, it was on that kind of shit, to where with other horror movies, it's like you gotta convince people to go and shit. They're like, "Oh, I want to watch it later." Or, "Oh man, I
Yep.
already seen it." It's just with this one that I knew something was different when the non-horror fans was like, "What's going on with that?" I keep hearing about it. That's how I knew it was gonna hit a certain way.
Thanks.
I just wish people had that same energy for Sinners for just movies in general, because it's like there's so many dope movies out right now. Like, just already,
Look
like,
at the shit they're putting
out of the 51 movies that I've seen, only 2 of them were sequels, bro. Like, that's crazy.
Dude, but what I'm saying is, like, okay, I had a packed theater for probably another horror movie. I don't know if it's really horror, but that I'm gonna put high on my list. But Death of a Unicorn, that
I
was
love that movie, man. That movie,
dude. That movie was so fucking good. I talked
love
to my daughter and my fiance to see that.
Yeah.
Dude,
Marshmallow was a good one too, but like that didn't get no promotion.
Like,
But
Death
that
of
was
a
good.
Unicorn. Oh yeah. See, I
Yeah,
could
Death
spend
of a
8
Unicorn was
hours.
surprisingly very good.
The joint on Netflix.
I have issues with that shit with Death of Unicorn, but yeah, that's a separate stream.
There's this one on Netflix called Death Death Count Society. That shit's really good. It's like a horror comedy. I got that on my top list too. But like that and like The
Last
Ugly
of Us Part
Stepsister
2.
and Sinner was cool. Last of Us who?
I'm just fucking with you.
Oh my God.
You sold me on the ugly stepsister when you said that it was more disturbing than the substance.
Yes, it tops that. It tops that.
Dude,
Wow.
okay, that's a bold claim. The
That's a
Substance was
bold
my
That top
statement, bro.
it,
that was
that
my
tops there.
top 5 last year.
You know, right?
That shit was
Don't
fun.
watch any trailers for it. Just go into it blind, bro. I'm telling you, bro. It's gonna fuck you up.
Now I'm
It's gonna
sold,
fuck
Man,
you
bro.
up.
every time
I'm
humans tell me something is disturbing, I sit there eating my popcorn and I'm just enjoying it, just having a good
Nah,
time.
Terrence. Even you would be like, "Oh fuck!" Like Terrence will literally have like he definitely would have a reaction to a lot of these scenes. Like, "Oh shit, that's pretty fucked up." Like, and it's a fucked up movie, but it's definitely one of the best. Probably the best horrification of one of these Disney characters and shit for sure. Like, that's not connected to the Pooniverse. Yeah,
Dude,
it's
Universe
a
is gonna
Norwegian
blow up.
film, but
Yo, when
you
they
said
do
what?
that, when they do their in-game version of Pooniverse, that shit about to
Bro,
clean them. I'm telling you.
dude, 1
Yeah.
million. Dude, let me tell you something. Anybody who says the new Pinocchio doesn't look like fire, you're fucking high. Richard
Wait,
Brake,
that's what the trailer for that.
Robert Englund as fucking Jiminy Cricket. Dude,
All right,
that
before
movie's
we
gonna
get
pop
into
off.
that, let's wrap this up. Zon, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on the most earth-breaking, ground-shaking, but never media show money taking, the man, the myth, the legend, the most electrifying channel in all of YouTube entertainment today, General Zod's Fandom Zone. I got some awesome reviews coming up, and I'm starting a new segment with Pop Culture PV called Stargate Sundays, where we will watch all of Stargate, the greatest sci-fi show ever made. Fuck anybody who tells you different. Greatest sci-fi show ever made, with the future Kratos in the show. You gotta watch it. It's a great show. We're gonna be reviewing every single season. We're gonna watch them from like 1 through I think fucking 11 or 12. We're gonna watch every Stargate season and give our critiques and like go back through episodes we haven't seen in a couple of years. It's gonna be fun. And I got a lot of movies coming up. And thank you, Perp, for inviting me on the channel with these fine
No
gentlemen.
problem. No problem. Terrence.
Oh, yep. How you doing, humans? Terrence here. Thank you, Perp, for inviting me. Yep, it was a pleasure talking to you, Zod, and Rashad. There were a few moments where I wanted to send Zod to the Phantom Zone because that's how he is.
That's what's up, man. I already got the taste twister.
But no, you can find me on T Virus Terrence. I just passed up 30K subs. That's fucking crazy. So yeah, you can find me there. And this almost a year now, I've been working on a channel with my boy Sean Stackhouse called World's Finest Team Up. That's both of us together. So you can find me there as well. And other than that, Terrence will just pop up when he does.
Okay. Rashad.
Yes, you can find me on Rashad G Reviews. So last video I posted was for Sinners, a spoiler-free review. And of course, we're here now talking spoilers. And yeah, the highlight of the night is hearing Terrence sing. I never thought I'd see the day where T-Virus Terrence, the T-800, with no feeling or emotion, actually started damn singing. And it didn't sound half bad either. So yeah, last video I posted was Sinners, and I have a bunch of shorts that I do as well, where I do a lot of top fives, and so feel free to check those out as well. And next video I guess I'll be doing is the Ugly Stepsister, because Perp sold me on it when he said that it was more disturbing than the substance. I said I have to see this, so look for that video either tomorrow or early Tuesday, and that's
Word,
it.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that, yeah, the Ugly Stepsister. I reviewed that. I did a double feature with that and subs not the with Sinners. That was a great double feature. Two great good horror movies, you know what I'm saying? Worth watching. This year for horror is gonna be definitely dope. It's exciting because you got a lot of good mainstream releases coming out, you know what I'm saying? So probably do another special presentation about like Final Destination, depending on how this goes. If people really rock with it and they're engaging with the content and whatnot, I'll keep pumping these out.
Hey, what
Um,
about
I thought,
Bambi the Reckoning, man? That's just gonna be like that's
Wow.
gonna be
yeah,
$1 million.
yeah.
Fuck you. That's gonna
We'll
be a great
talk.
movie.
No, I'm
Yeah, this
saying
was
wow because this twisted childhood universe is crazy. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of exciting things going on in horror right now. But that's been the stream. Make sure y'all hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Till next time, I'll see you on the next one.
Peace.